by who gets the most votes throughout all 19 boroughs added up. But because that vote happens in addition to all the votes citizens have made across the island, you may have noticed if you voted today, there was not just the mayor of Montreal, there was your borough mayor, probably your city councillor, and perhaps your borough councillor. So there will be an interesting aspect to watch there. What happens to city council? What happens? The mayor could win as mayor and then not necessarily have a majority of seats or even a plurality on council. In 2013, that happened. Denis Cadell was elected mayor, but he did get the most seats, but not a majority. So that's something that we're going to watch. So who wins the mayor's race? And then also which, if any, borough mayor and city councillor seats flip one way or another between the two main parties, or of course, pass to a new party. We have some new parties that we're watching as well. A few boroughs I'm watching closely tonight. Côte-des-Neiges and DG. There was a tight battle there last time between Projet Montréal Ensemble and Projet Montréal squeaked out a win there. Ville-Marie, a couple of high-profile candidates not running there again, and some high-profile replacements, such as Claude Guinard, the former head of Centrade, who, should he win, would be Soraya Martinez-Ferrada's executive committee chair if she should win. And the Sud-Ouest, that is a Projet Montréal stronghold, but Craig Sauvé is running there as the head of a new party, Transition Montreal. Can he make inroads, given that that is sort of his stomping grounds? Also, seven mayors in Montreal boroughs will be getting seven Montreal boroughs will be getting new mayors because incumbents are not running again. And of course, I'll be tracking races in other on-island cities. So Westmount, there will definitely be a new mayor there as well. Also in Beaconsfield. Côte Saint-Luc is a race to watch, Hampstead as well, Pointe Claire and more. So should be a lot to talk about on the island.
There will be. Thank you. Alison, how about you? What municipalities are important for us to follow?
Well, I'm looking certainly at Sherbrooke, and where we do have a four-way race right now. Sean Lyons, you already mentioned that we might see one of the former federal cabinet ministers there. And by the end of the evening, we might actually see two former federal cabinet ministers on the Sherbrooke City Council. Pierre-Luc Dussault also running for a city council position in Sherbrooke. I'm looking specifically at some of the places around the province that are further away from Montreal, where there are quite a lot of English speakers. I'm looking specifically to the Magdalen Islands, also looking at New Carlisle. Mont-Tremblant's got an interesting race. And when it comes to the Magdalen Islands, we've got some of those results coming in already, but we're going to be looking specifically at is the incumbent going to win? There is a young mayoral candidate, Shani Thériault, who's also quick on the heels, 21, and she's originally from Montreal. So we're going to see what happens there. So we'll be bringing you some context, talk about who the candidates are, what the issues are, what are driving some of these votes, also voter participation.
Yeah, that is something that we've been talking about quite a bit over the last little while. Voter turnout, not just in Montreal, but all municipalities, that it's quite low. It's been a struggle getting people to the polls. I know for the city of Montreal at around 4 o'clock is at around 27%. Overall turnout in 2021 was 38%. So we're going to see if we can do better than that this time around.
Were people night owls? Did they decide after 4 p.m. that they were going to head to the polls? So.
Possibly. So we're going to be watching that. Sean Lyons, do you have any results for us so far?
We've got some trickling in this morning. Again, it is early in the evening, so trickling is going to be the word of the hour here. Let's start in Quebec City. I was telling you that 8-way race for mayor of Quebec City. At this point, and I have just lost my Quebec. There we go. Our system is getting around to talking to me this evening. Bruno Marchand, the incumbent mayor so far, is ahead, 61% ahead of his closest rival right now, Stéphane Lachance, at 15.6%, and Sam Hamad back at 11.2%. But here's the thing about things trickling in early in the evening. We are talking about roughly 8.9% of the polls reporting in. So not nothing, but still early in the evening there. Let's take a look in the Montreal area, starting in Longueuil right now. We told you that is Catherine Fournier. She's the incumbent mayor there. You might remember that her opponent jumped in the race fairly late, just before the candidacies closed. And one of the main reasons was to make sure that a mayor of a major city was not elected by acclamation. We talked quite a bit about that on the air. Right now, Catherine Fournier is leading Sacha Parisella by 90% to 9.2%. Once again, number of polls is important. We have about, we've got quite a few polls coming in now. Yeah, we got about, no, we don't. 1.0% of polls are reporting in. So again, early in the night for a lot of these races, but it's interesting to see how things start to shape up as we just kick off the evening. And let's take a look, Sean, if we want, here to Laval on the north shore of Montreal right now. There's another one that we're going to be watching. That's Stéphane Boyer, the incumbent mayor there. And right now, I'm just looking in, and we actually don't have any results coming in from Laval yet. And so we will bring you those as soon as they come in as well. Just one last one, just in the Montreal area. The next time around, I'll take a look further afield in Quebec as well.
I'm actually going to send you back to
Sure.
Longueuil.
Let's go back to Longueuil. So we can tell you right now, here we are, just waiting for this to appear, that at this point, the decision desk, there's a bit of a lag on our system sometimes here, but that's okay. We can tell you right now at this point in the evening, we have our first call of the evening. The CBC decision desk is ready to project that Catherine Fournier, the incumbent mayor, will remain mayor of Laval, defeating her opponent this evening. And so Catherine Fournier will remain on in that position in Longueuil on the south shore of Montreal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next door in Brossard, of course. Lots to be talked about there with the relationship between those two municipalities.
Right.
But Catherine Fournier, our first elected and re-elected mayor this evening.
Right. So we'll be following that. We'll be following the composition of council. There will be more seats because the population of Longueuil has grown. We spent some time in Greenfield Park last week. We're going to see how that race shapes up specifically in that borough. In the meantime, let us head out to party headquarters on the island of Montreal, specifically to Projet Montréal headquarters at the Société des Arts Technologiques. CBC reporter Sharon Yonan-Reynolds is there. Sharon, good evening.
Good evening.
What's going on right now?
So I would say that things are starting to get a little more lively in the last 15 minutes. So candidates only started arriving after 8 o'clock. Some of them had been voting up until the very last minute, but I saw Erica Alnius, for example, who's running as a city councilor in the borough of Rosemont, and spirits are generally high right now. I don't know if you can hear the music in the background, but Projet Montréal is really trying to keep spirits up, and I think that the attitude is generally pretty good. We're going to have to see how that kind of evolves over the evening. If you look to, some of the polls that had come out in the last month or so, it looks like Projet Montréal might have a bit of an uphill battle tonight. So, but, polls aren't necessarily indication of everything that is going to happen. So we'll have to see how that evolves over the evening.
Right. Thank you, Sharon. That is Sharon Yonan-Reynolds at the Projet Montréal headquarters at the Société des Arts Technologiques. Let us head to CBC reporter Kwabena Oduro, who is at Ensemble Montréal headquarters. That is at La Torrue. Kwabena, good evening.
Good evening, Sean.
What's the mood been like there?
I'm here at the... So, unlike Sharon, it's not loud and bumping just yet here. It's still quiet because the doors actually open at 8:30. But I've been speaking to people, and the people here are very confident that they will come out on top, meaning that Soraya Martinez-Ferrada will be the next mayor of Montreal. I spoke to one volunteer, and she told me that she volunteers at multiple different municipal, federal, and provincial campaigns. She helps out, and she loves doing it because she likes to see how things unfold, and she's hoping that Montreal will get its second female mayor. I also spoke to a city councilor who is running in the borough of St. Leonard, Gabriel Reda. He came here, he said that he's feeling excited about the prospect of Ensemble Montreal returning to the seat of having a mayor run the city of Montreal, but he's also extremely nervous. He's also hoping that he gets elected in St. Leonard. He says he was born in Italy, so he has some of those roots, and he's been using that to help him with his campaign. But he is feeling very nervous, but he is looking forward to seeing what happens tonight. And we are just waiting for more people to get here, Sean.
All right. Thank you, Kwabena. That is the CBC's Kwabena Oduro. He is at Ensemble Montréal headquarters at La Torrue. Let us head to Quebec City right now. CBC reporter Franca Mignacca is at incumbent Mayor Bruno Marchand's rally at Château-Laurier. Franca, what's going on right now?
Well, Sean, a couple of hundred people are already here. The doors opened about 20 minutes ago, and I heard some cheers behind me, so spirits are high early on the night. I spoke with one of the candidates running for city councillor in Saint-Roch, Saint-Sauveur earlier, and she was telling me that her party is feeling a lot more confident this time around, contrary to back in 2021 when Marchand won by only about 700 votes. Now, Marchand this time has been campaigning on the issue of homelessness as well as the housing crisis and on keeping the tramway project on track for his city. We're also hearing here tonight that people are satisfied so far with the voter turnout. As of 4 p.m. today, it was already at 41%. Sean?
Thank you, Franca. Franca Mignacca at incumbent Mayor Bruno Marchand's rally at Château-Laurier. We will have more results throughout the evening. Let's get back to the island of Montreal. Simon Akineshny is here with some results.
Yeah, some very early results for the mayor of Montreal. Now we have Soraya Martinez-Ferrada. She is leading right now, about 20,000 votes. So that's about 50% of the vote that's come in so far. Luc Rabouin trailing her. He's clocked about 12,500 votes. So the breakdown there is about 51 to 32%. And that's with about 377 polls reporting out of, 3,900. So very early. Of course, the other thing we have to remember about Montreal is that it depends on which boroughs are reporting. I can't see that right now. Right. But whatever boroughs are reporting, they could be a Projet stronghold. They could be an Ensemble Montréal stronghold. And the vote does vary across the island. Also, we're getting some of the newer parties also reporting some results. Gilbert Thibodeau of Action Montréal, he's at about 8.4%, and that's about 3,400 votes. And then Craig Sauvé, of course, with Transition Montreal, he's polling just under 7% right now with the amount of polls that we have. So that's about 2,700 votes. And then Jean-François Cacou from Futur Montréal, he's just over 1%, about 1.3%. So it's looking like, at least right now, the two major parties that we see at City Hall and that we're used to seeing are in the 1 and 2 slots. But again, very early returns. And, we'll have to keep watching these numbers as they come in and as different parts of the island come in.
Right, absolutely. Thank you, Simon. Let us head to Sarah Kate Dallaire. We're bouncing back and forth. Montreal, Quebec City, Montreal, Quebec City. Allison, we're going to get to Sherbrooke, I promise. But let's go to Quebec City. The south shore of Quebec City, actually, Lévis. Sarah Kate Dallaire is at Stephen Blaney's election night headquarters. Sarah Kate, what's going on at your location?
Good evening. People are just starting to gather here in Lévis. There are about 40 people, a little bit more gathering here. We're expecting to see Stephen Blaney walk in any minute now. He will be joining his crew that is awaiting results. As you can hear, it's getting louder and louder behind me as we speak. This is a three-way run in Lévis. Stephen Blaney's opponents are Serge Bonin with Repensons Lévis and from Lévis Force 10, Isabelle Demers, who is taking over Gilles Laulier, who will not be running. The mayor of Lévis will not be running for the first time in over a decade this year. As I said, we're expecting Blaney to come in any moment now, and we will keep you posted. Sean?
Thank you. Sarah Kate Dallaire is at Stephen Blaney's election night headquarters. So let us talk about that region, Sean Lyons, and we'll start with Quebec City.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the results. Actually, I'll start with Lévis since we were just there with Sarah Kate, only to tell you that there are actually results coming in for the first time. The first numbers have dropped. They didn't make a very loud noise when they dropped because there aren't that many of them. Right now, Stephen Blaney, for example, is ahead. Literally one poll has just come into the decision desk, and Stephen Blaney is ahead by 89 votes to 43 votes. Again, very, very early in the night. Those are literally the first results to come in from Lévis. But let's head across the river to Quebec City. Interesting things are shaping up on the north side of the river. So far at this point, we can tell you that about 10% of the polls in. Bruno Marchand, the incumbent mayor, is ahead right now by about 59.2% of the vote. That's what he's garnered so far of the polls that have been counted so far. Just ahead, quite a bit ahead of Stéphane Lachance, 17.5. So 59.2 to 17.5. Quite an advanced lead, but again, where we've got about 10% of the votes in. Sam Hamad, the former provincial cabinet minister, lagging third right now, far behind with 11.9%. government in Quebec City. So that's the lay of the land there. And I just wanted to take you back to the Montreal area because we talked about Longueuil, Catherine Fournier, the incumbent mayor, easily winning that race. Again, that call coming in from the decision desk a few minutes ago now. So let's just take a look next door in Brossard, of course, because that's going to be an interesting relationship there. And so we can tell you at this point, with now about only about 2% of the votes in, but Doreen Assad has a commanding lead over Hanadi Saad, 80.4% to 19.6%. But again, the vote's just starting to come in Brossard as well.
Right, thank you. So we're going to go from Brossard to the Vaudreuil-Soulanges area. That's where the CBC's Chloe Rinaldi is working tonight, and she covers that region for CBC here in Quebec. Chloe, what will you be watching for in Vaudreuil-Dorion?
Hi, Sean. So yeah, as you mentioned, I'm in my office in Hudson, which is a lot more quiet and a bit more lonely than my colleagues. And I'm really keeping an eye on Vaudreuil-Dorion because for the first time in 20 years, people are going to get a new mayor. Guy Pilon, who had held the position for the past 2 decades, is not running for re-election. And the 2 candidates who are hoping for his job are Karine Lechasseur and Paul Dumoulin. So Karine Lechasseur is a first-time city councillor and an independent city councillor, and she co-founded the group Inspire Vaudreuil-Dorion. And there's Paul Dumoulin, and he's been a longtime councillor for 34 years, and he's taking over as the leader of Action Vaudreuil-Dorion, which was previously led by Guy Pilon. And one of the biggest priorities and one of the biggest issues that I've been hearing from residents and what the different candidates are saying is their top priority is transit. And I know that you and I have talked about that earlier this week, is that issue with the Illatort Bridge and a lot of congestion on the 20. So both candidates say that they're going to be putting a lot of pressure on the provincial government to make sure that that area is redesigned, as well as improving public transit in the territory, because there are options to go off-island to downtown Montreal, but not enough to get around Vaudreuil-Dorion.
Thank you. That is Chloe Rinaldi, a community journalist for the Vaudreuil-Soulanges territory. Allison, let's come to you right now. I've been saying for the last, I know it's early, but I've been saying, let's go to Sherbrooke. What's happening in Sherbrooke?
Let's go to Sherbrooke. Well, Marie-Claude Bibeau, who has been leading in the polls, perhaps not surprisingly, is leading right now in what has been counted. So far, 4 polls have closed. Still not very much, but she is at 53.9% of the votes. The surprise, perhaps, is in the other candidates. Vincent Boutin, not surprisingly that she is behind her. He's at 25%. So just under half of those votes. But where the polls may have gotten things wrong is Guillaume Brien was actually right up there with Vincent Boutin. But he and Reyes Kibonge are both just over 10% of the counted votes at the moment. Of course, still early in the night. And we're going to be keeping an eye on the borough of Lennoxville as well in Sherbrooke, it has a bilingual status. It's one of the smallest places in Sherbrooke, one of the smallest electoral districts within the city of Sherbrooke. It has the most candidates, 11 people running just in Lennoxville, 6 for borough president, and there are others for the councillor positions. So a lot of people, a lot of interest in politics there. So it'll be interesting to see once those numbers do finally start coming in. But for Sherbrooke, we're looking at Marie-Claude Bibeau, and the polls had her in the lead because of that name recognition, of course, as a former federal MP.
All right. Thank you. Simon, some more updates on Montreal?
Yeah, well, and specifically, we are starting to get a few numbers out of Côte-des-Neiges, NDG, where we are expecting could be a tight race there for borough mayor. Right now, very early, about 34 polls have reported, and we're hearing that a lot of the votes that are being counted so far in Montreal are early voting, which makes sense, of course. So right now, Stephanie Valenzuela for Ensemble Montréal is ahead. It's about 1,700 votes, 1,711 to Gracia Kasoki-Katawa from Projet Montréal. She is running with about 22.1%, the incumbent there. Again, very early, and we don't know exactly which boxes have been opened. And that, of course, that borough is diverse in terms of its voting. There are areas that are very strong Projet Montréal. There are areas that are very strong Ensemble Montréal. So that's an early result in a borough that we're certainly going to be keeping an eye on all night.
Right. Thank you, Simon. Now, with regards to the city of Montreal, Montreal will have a new mayor no matter what. After 8 years at the head of Montreal City Hall, Mayor Valérie Plante is stepping down from politics. CBC host Deborah Arbeck sat down with Plante and asked her about her administration's successes. She asked her what it was like to be the city's first female elected mayor.
So I have to ask you, outgoing mayor, how does that feel when you hear it?
Well, it's true that it's new to hear it this way, and at the same time, I'm ready for this. Like it was my decision. I announced it a year ago, almost a year ago, and so at this point, I'm just excited, for this campaign to happen, and I'm definitely going to wish the best of luck to the person that will be at the head of the city of Montreal, because for me, it's been such a great adventure. Exciting, bumpy roads sometimes, but the best experience of my life for sure.
You were Montreal's first woman mayor.
Yes.
You are a mother.
Yes.
You were a community worker. Very different than mayors of the past, obviously. How did that impact your approach here at City Hall?
Well, I have to say it was almost like a continuity of the work I did with before I became mayor, before entering politics. So I've always been a feminist. I've always been really involved in the civic society kind of movement, thinking about the environment and other things like that. And also working in the non-for-profit world, so being very connected to different communities. So I feel like I took that approach and definitely those values of inclusiveness, of environment, of feminism within my work. And I mean, sometimes there's like big examples, sometimes there's small examples, but one I like to use is when I took office, there used to be like 7:30 morning meetings here all the time. The mayor was having meetings with different partners, public servants, and I was like, 7:30? Like, parents need to take their kids to school, whether it's the mom or the dad, right? So I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So I changed that quite rapidly. So there's the meeting starts like 8:39, so people have time. But to me, it was important also to bring those values and those concrete way of doing, so it becomes more interesting for different people and our younger generation to want to be part of the public servants or to public services, because I truly believe how it is so important. And I want women to be in politics. Is it easy? The answer is no.
So what world of possibility is opened up for you now? What's next?
I was thinking you would go there. I don't know. And it's true. I'm serious. I definitely want to take a break. I often, my life is quite rigid and very scheduled, like everything. I have such a big agenda. It's almost like a prime minister. That's what I heard. So I'm definitely looking for a break, some time to digest and to kind of think about, okay, Valérie 8 years ago, and who is she now? Who am I now? What do I want? And I think something is clear is that people will see me again, but there's different ways to change the world. That's always what motivated me in life, whatever role I've played. And active politics been an amazing way to change at least my city. But now, I will continue to change our city and our society, but I just need to find what's the next vehicle? There you go.
Maybe a bike.
Yeah. Maybe a bike.
There you go. That was Deborah Arbeck's end-of-term interview with Mayor Valérie Plante. Sean Lyons has some results for us.
That's right, Sean. We have another call to make this evening. Let's head way out east here in Quebec. The CBC Decision Desk is now projecting that on the Magdalen Islands, you might remember those were the first returns to start coming in this night because the polls closed earlier out that way. We can tell you now that the incumbent mayor, Antonin Valiquette, has won that race, and so he will remain mayor of the Magdalen Islands, defeating his opponent, Shani Thériault. So the Magdalen Islands, the incumbent mayor, Antonin Valiquette, will remain in his post.
All right. Thank you. Let us head back to Projet Montréal headquarters at the Société des Arts Technologiques. That's where we find the CBC's Sharon Yonan-Reynolds with a mayoral candidate. Sharon.
Hi, Sean. I'm here with Alia Hassan-Courneau, who is running to be borough mayor in the borough of Mercier-Hochelaga Maisonneuve. First question, how are you feeling tonight?
Well, we're excited, kind of nervous, but really proud of the campaign we've been doing locally and for Montreal.
And I want to ask you, because the polls that we've seen over the course of this election campaign have suggested Ensemble Montréal is in the lead. I'm wondering, is that on your mind at all, thinking of, you know, that limited data that has come out over this election campaign?
Well, you said it well, it's limited data, and for now we just finished with it just closed in Montreal. So right now we're discovering what's in the ballot. So it's way too early to say that Soraya or Luc have won. We don't know what's going to happen in Mercier-Hochelaga Maisonneuve and so many more boroughs.
Now, I do want to ask you about, you know, the garbage pickup, because that was kind of a big controversy in your borough. The garbage pickup was decided to be bi-weekly. And I know your party has kind of backpedaled on that. It's going to be changing over the summer months, but you know, there were many negative reactions when that policy decision was made. I'm wondering, those negative reactions from residents in your borough, are you wondering if that is going to affect your chances of being elected tonight?
There's so many things that can affect the election. I mean, the policy we've been making, the changes in the policy we've been announcing, the humor of people, a lot of things. But I'm confident that the people of Mercier-Hochelaga Maisonneuve have understood the step back that we've been taken in order to implement a good measure that makes sense for them, but also for the ecological transition.
And I want to ask, if you are elected tonight, what is the first thing that you want to accomplish in your borough?
My top priorities, definitely, and this is why I'm running for borough mayor, fighting homelessness and the housing crisis, and they're so intertwined, the both of them. We have a new approach, we have a very precise plan, and I'm ready to execute it day one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Alia Hassan-Courneau, running for Projet Montréal to be borough mayor in the borough of Hochelaga Maisonneuve, Mercier-Hochelaga Maisonneuve.
Thank you, Sharon. That is Sharon Yonan-Reynolds at Projet Montréal headquarters at the Société des Arts Technologiques. And Simon, yeah, that garbage collection, that bi-weekly garbage collection every 2 weeks was quite the conversation. It started off as a pilot project in the eastern sector of the borough before it was rolled out across the more denser part of the borough. Exactly. And this is almost a year ago that this happened. And leading up to that, and even after it was implemented, it was quite the conversation. And it some council meetings that were quite heated over it.
Yeah, and I mean, full transparency, I live in this borough.
So do I.
And I was given, I just know that one of the issues was also that they were trying to raise awareness. The administration there was trying to raise awareness of how this would work. Yeah. Because there were certain days that you would get garbage, certain pickups, certain would not happen. So there were forms that were given out. And I know that certainly it did become a bit of a lightning rod for certain parts. We did reporting over it over the summer when it came to cleanliness, and people had concerns about rats and all that type of a thing. So it definitely touched a nerve, I would say, in that borough. But the argument that was being made by the administration there was that they needed to reduce the amount of garbage going into city landfills because there was just too much garbage going into city landfills that could be composted. So that was something that was definitely, a lot of people, I think, were making that counter argument in the sense that they were urging the people of the borough to try to step up their composting. They made social media videos. Right now, I do have some very, very, very early results. Only three polls reporting in Mercier-Hochelaga Maisonneuve for the mayor's chair. And right now, Chantal Gagnon of Ensemble Montréal is winning by she's winning 105 votes to 38 for Alia Hassan-Courneau. So very, very early. You know, we're talking about dozens of votes here. But certainly that is one that if Ensemble Montréal is hoping to hold a balance of power in city council, if they do happen to win the mayor's job of Montreal, that would be one that they would try to be flipping as well, of course.
Right. And one other thing about Mercier-Hochelaga-Maisonneuve, in the Hochelaga district specifically, Ensemble Montréal does not have a candidate because they asked Alexandre Giasson to suspend his campaign over comments he had been making directed at city councilors, at the outgoing borough mayor, specifically with regards to garbage collection. And it turns out that he had been making comments to incumbent mayor Bruno Marchand as well. So just like there was a list of things. And initially, leader Soraya Martinez-Ferrada stood by him and said everybody deserves a second chance. But she had said that later in the day she got another phone call, and and then that was the end of it.
For sure.
All right, we have a call to make. It is coming up in just a minute. The CBC Radio-Canada decision desk is projecting that Bruno Marchand is re-elected as mayor of Quebec City. Bruno Marchand became mayor of Quebec City in 2021. And Allison, as you remember, that happened after projections initially had his opponent winning. Marchand has set an objective of building 100,000 new housing units by 2040 and 5,000 family housing units by 2030. Homelessness, one of the many issues in Quebec City, like other municipalities in Quebec. Allison and Sean, I'm going to bring both of you in here because we're all former Quebec City residents as well, and still go there quite often. And I guess I'm curious, because the other issue besides homelessness and housing was the tramway. And there were candidates for or against tramway. We know Bruno Marchand stands on the tramway in favor of it. So does that mean a win for him is a win for the tramway?
I think it is, in the sense that a win for Marchand means that the tramway will likely go ahead. It has already been green-lighted by the Legault government, which is something that, despite this campaign, I would say roughly half and half of the candidates were for, half against. But it was a project for all intents and purposes that should be going ahead. It has been given the green light, and there could be some pretty hefty fines were it to not go ahead. That being said, I think there's two interesting points here. One, Bruno Marchand, the incumbent mayor, having been re-elected. The last time an incumbent mayor in Quebec City ran and lost was, you'd have to go back to 1938. Wow. So I think that says something about Quebec City voters, maybe that they know, they like to go with what they know. Perhaps you could maybe garner that. But as far as that tramway goes, one interesting point about this, the Léger had done some polls and were asking people in Quebec City what the main issues were to them. And for the first time ever, Léger was saying, for the first time, it's not transportation. It was not that tramway or the third link or the congestion or the traffic. It was really... It was the affordability of homes. It was the access to homes and homelessness. Those were really the top ones. They said for the first time, the issues in Quebec City match those in Montreal.
Can we stick on the Quebec City campaign for a second? Because one of the things that stood out in this campaign was that Bruno Marchand's opponents were all fighting amongst each other, or at least a couple of them.
Yeah, there were quite a few moments of, I don't know if you want to call them controversy, hiccups. I don't even know what you'd call them, because very few of them really got any traction during the campaign. They made a lot of headlines, but did they really make a difference? That remains to be seen. But we did have, in the last couple of weeks of the campaign, this news that came out that the two of the opponents, Sam Hamad and Stéphane Lachance, had essentially offered to give Sam Hamad a job if he would drop out of the race. This is what we were hearing. Both sides admitted it, so we're not making allegations here, but said that everything was above board, that there was no quid pro quo, there were no promises made. These were just, according to Lachance, these were informal discussions that were had kind of amongst the back rooms. And and you might imagine this kind of thing did blow up at the end of a campaign to a certain degree. We did see in Saguenay, the incumbent mayor in Saguenay, who's running against Julie Dufour, ended up being charged by Elections Quebec for something similar, where in the 2021 campaign, the allegations came out that she had offered someone else a position in her cabinet if that person would drop out of the race. And Elections Quebec took her to court over it, and she was found guilty. She's appealing that, by the way, continues to insist that she's innocent, and she's running again. We'll talk about that later. So it was a similar situation in Quebec City, but did it move the needle at all? That's really hard to say at this point because, as Allison was saying, I'd be curious, and I will be curious to see what the polling says, what some of the interviews, if we chat with voters later on, says about why they voted for Bruno Marchand. As I said, this Quebec City is a very small C conservative city in that when they have a mayor they like, they just stick with that mayor. It's been a long time since an incumbent mayor was defeated in Quebec City.
Right.
And you have to wonder if, because of all the important other issues that are on the table, homelessness and housing, all the things we've been talking about, if people in Quebec City this time were saying, listen, it wasn't even a for or against the tramway vote, it was the tramway's happening. Let's deal with other issues.
Yeah. Simon, let's head to you. We have another call to make tonight.
Yes, and our decision desk, CBC Decision Desk, is projecting that Stéphane Boyer will be reelected as mayor of Laval. Of course, Stéphane Boyer, very popular young mayor of the city just north of Montreal. So he is projected to be reelected, and it's an interesting case because it's I interviewed him a couple of years ago, and he definitely seems to have focused his priorities, I would say, on developing Laval and developing the city in areas he told me that were necessarily not just about picking up the garbage, not just about doing the basics. He's looking at solving some of the larger issues. Gun violence is notably an issue there. So we can call Stéphane Boyer as the reelected mayor of Laval.
Right, and left to be seen who will be around the council table with him. In Laval, his party did have a majority of seats on council in the last cycle, so we'll see what happens this time. So we'll be following that. And there's interesting to note there are actually there's a few independent candidates in Laval, but two who left another party, and they're running on their own, and we'll see what their chances are tonight. So we'll be following all of that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he kind of, he was part of a sort of axis of new mayors, young mayors in the greater Montreal area, with, of course, Catherine Fournier reelected as well tonight. So
we'll be seeing more of them because they've made announcements together throughout the campaign. So we'll be seeing more of them over the next 4 years, possibly making announcements separately, of course, but maybe every once in a while making announcements together.
Yeah, and they've come out strong against the Legault government at times when they felt that their cities were not being given the sort of consideration that was needed. And so there were a few times where the mayors of those larger municipalities said, hey, we've got issues, we've got solutions, and we need money.
A lot of the municipalities are saying, hey, Quebec, we need money.
Yeah, for sure.
And that'll be an ongoing theme. Let us head back to Quebec City now. CBC reporter Franca Mignacca is at Mayor Bruno Marchand's rally at the Château Laurier. Franca, what's happening there?
Well, Sean, there's about a few hundred people behind me, and cheers did go out around the room when it was called that, Marchand was projected to win. We haven't seen Marchand himself yet. He is expected to give a speech a little later, but people in the room not too surprised that he won. He was leading in the polls, but they are a little surprised that the results are coming in so quickly. I spoke to a few of the candidates running to become city councillor, and they said that while they feel confident, they didn't want to take anything for granted. But they feel that they've proved themselves since the 2021 election, that people here are satisfied with the work they've done in their first mandate. Housing has been an issue for them since 2021, and it continues to be among the main priorities, with transportation and air quality also coming into the mix. So people here really excited to see how the night will fold out, how many seats they might potentially get. Back in 2021, they only actually managed to elect 6 councillors from Quebec Fort-et-Fier, so they're hoping to see that number go up significantly. Sean?
Right, thank you. That is Franca Mignacca at Mayor Bruno Marchand's rally at the Château Laurier. Simon, let's get to some more results for Montreal.
Yes, and I mean, we're watching, of course, that Montreal mayor's race. That is the one that we've got our eye on. Looks like it's, in terms of percentage, it's sort of holding relatively steady, but maybe a bit of a bump here for Luc Rabouin. Right now, we are seeing Soraya Martinez-Ferrada of Ensemble Montréal at just under 50% of the vote. That's about 25,500 votes there, with about 479 polls reporting Luc Rabouin just under 17,000 votes, and Gilbert Thibodeau holding fairly steady in that 8% range, about 4,200 votes there, and Craig Sauvé, a little bump there as too. He's at 7.4%. So it seems to be sort of settling into those numbers, but again, very early results. You know, we're still talking about 480 polls out of nearly 4,000 polls. So at this point, you know, but it is interesting to see just sort of over the course of the night, especially some of these, the new party candidates, sort of maintaining a fairly high percentage. It's the first time we've really seen that kind of a thing in a few elections, you know.
Right, and Gilbert Thibodeau, he did run last. This is his third run for mayor. He ran in 2017 and ran in 2021. And if my memory serves me correctly, in 2021 he got 1% of the vote. So this is an improvement for him so far.
He has beaten his total number of votes already. Right now he's got 20 more votes than he did 4 years ago. Right. So at this early in the night...
safe to say he probably will beat that total because, I mean, as you said, it's like 475 polls out of about just over 3,900, so still lots more to be counted.
And, no, he's over it.
Yeah, so there you go. We'll continue to follow that. Sean Lyons, we've got some more results for us too.
We do. We've got the first numbers starting to come in from Gatineau now. You mentioned off the top of the show here that the polls were delayed there because of technical issues. They didn't close until 8:30 this evening, so we're getting our first results in right now. Again, very early, only about 1% of the polls reporting in. However, we can tell you at this point, Mario Aubé is running first right now, 52.2%, but it's very close against the incumbent, Maude Marquis-Bissonnette, who is running second right now, 45.1%. So just about 6-7% between the two of them right now. So still a thin margin there with, again, just one poll reporting in. This is an interesting race because Maude Marquis-Bissonnette, you might remember, she was only elected in a by-election in June of last year after the previous mayor, France Bellil, ended up stepping down for personal reasons and complaining about the toxic climate at City Hall as well. So, but an incumbent mayor there running second right now, but we'll be keeping an eye on that. But something interesting that I'm just going to go back and confirm what I was going to say, and that is I want to go back to Saguenay right now because interestingly enough, we're just getting our first results in from Saguenay. We were waiting a long time for some numbers to come in from Saguenay, so here they come. But again, very early there as well, 1% of the polls reporting in. But we can tell you right now, the former Quebec Cabinet Minister André Laforêt, Municipal Affairs Minister, so she probably knows the job of being a mayor, at least a little bit. But she's ahead now. Now again, very few votes are actually in, but I had 64.9% over Luc Boivin at 27.5% there. It's a pretty big lead, but again, I'll give you an idea. She has 111 votes. He has 47. We're early in the night in Saguenay. Interestingly, though, the incumbent mayor, Julie Dufour, who's been controversial right now, a distant fourth. She has one vote right now, 0.6%. But once again, very, very early, only about 1% of the polls in Saguenay so far.
Okay, thank you. Let us head to Lévis right now. Sarah-Kate Dallaire is at Stephen Blaney's election night headquarters. Sarah, what do you have for us?
Yes, so Stephen Blaney stepped in here about 10-20 minutes ago, and the crowd really lit up. Everyone is cheering and watching the results attentively. He is currently running with this three-way race against his opponent from Repensons Lévis, Serge Bonin, and Isabelle Demers, who is taking over Force Lévis 10 after outgoing Mayor Gilles Lehuillier decided not to run this year for the first time in over a decade. So we're seeing results coming in right now. Still early, however, the crowd is kind of starting to lift up a little bit. We see a little bit of smiles watching the results attentively, and every time there's more counts coming in, the crowd just keeps on cheering louder. Sean?
All right, thank you. Sarah-Kate Dallaire is at Stephen Blaney's election night headquarters. Let us head back here to Montreal with Kwabena Oduro, who is at Ensemble Montréal headquarters at La Torue, with a guest. Kwabena, who you have with you?
Hey, Sean, I'm here with Claude Pinard, who's running in the downtown area. Claude, why did you decide to run?
So, to me, my father always said that he was not raising an individual, he was raising citizens. So citizens for me means to be engaged, and I'm a guy that like to participate in change. And to me, this experience was the perfect experience to, how should I put it, like culminate my professional experience in the sense that instead of being an influencer, which I was at Centraide, I can be the guy or the person helping making decision and help greater amount of people. So that's basically the reason why I decided to run.
So if you get elected tonight,
yes,
what are your priorities?
Priorities, we said it during the campaign: homelessness, housing, of course, security, property, and of course, we want to make sure that the City of Montreal gets back to basic with service to citizens and ensure that we manage the city's finance very responsibly.
So when Radio-Canada was showing the results, there's some early leads with some polls showing that Ensemble Montreal is in the lead. What are you expecting tonight, and how are you feeling about the night?
Honestly, I feel confident. I guess what I have to say is what we heard a lot during this campaign was how many people were dissatisfied with the current administration. So this is something we heard everywhere. Way too early for me to try to make prediction, but I'm happy with what I'm seeing and I'm confident.
And final question for you. What is your message to Montrealers?
You know what? If we're elected and if I'm in office, tomorrow I'm actually going to the office tomorrow to start working on it. You're going to see an administration that's going to be listen, that's going to take action, and it's going to fill the void of leadership that we've seen on so many social issues in the last few years. So be ready. Change is coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pinard. So, Sean, everyone here at the Ensemble Montreal headquarters is feeling pretty confident with the Only Pro showing some leads for the party, and they are hoping that that is the way things go all night. Sean?
Thank you, Kwabena. That is CBC reporter Kwabena Oduro at Ensemble Montréal headquarters at La Torrue. He was speaking to Claude Pinard, who is running in the Saint-Jacques district in the Ville-Marie borough. And if he wins that race, and if Soraya Martinez-Ferrada wins the mayor's race, he will be the head of the executive committee at the City of Montreal. And I know he said that, we are going to get ready tomorrow. We hit the ground running. It doesn't usually work that way. they do have to be sworn in, and as soon as they're sworn in, then they can get to work. But I'm pretty sure if they do win, they're going to start talking and having conversations, because there will be some transitions and things to talk about, and things to plan, so that they can hit the ground running. But again, this is if they win, and of course we are watching the polls. And Simon, you have some numbers for us.
Well, I mean, it's very, very early here. We're talking about 5 polls, but in that race with Claude Pinard against Robert Baudry, of course, of Projet Montréal, incumbent Baudry is leading 180 votes to 162. So very tight. I mean, yes, it's an early return, very but early. One to watch for sure, because that is a borough, the Ville-Marie borough, that we are expecting a few interesting results, given that we've got a couple of candidates who are not going to be also seeking re-election there. Serge Sasseville, notably, so it's going to be an interesting borough that may play a sort of outsized role in terms of the composition, especially if we're talking about executive committee members, executive committee presidents, etc.
Yes, Serge Sasseville and Peter McGill not run again. Sophie Moserol with Projet Montréal, and Sainte-Marie not running again. And the Ville-Marie borough is an interesting one, because there are 3 councillors elected, but then the mayor of Montreal is the mayor of the Ville-Marie borough, which has caused lots of discussions in the last year. Should the mayor of Montreal, or should Ville-Marie have its own borough, and have its own borough mayor? There's been a lot of different conversations about that, and no firm answer quite yet. It all requires Quebec City's permission, by the way. Whatever they come up with, if there was a public consultation, and I think the takeaway was, Ville-Marie should have its borough mayor. And I know some candidates, present and past, have suggested that. Others have said, well, add more council seats to sort of balance out the weight. But again, we'll see. Yeah,
and it's interesting on that discussion about Ville-Marie borough. a lot of people live there. You know, we think of it sometimes as just the economic center, but there are a lot of residents
Not
there.
just a destination anymore. It is a place to live. It's where people live. Allison, we're going to head to you because we have some results from Sherbrooke.
We do have some results from Sherbrooke. Marie-Claude Bibeau she's mayor-elect for the city of Sherbrooke, perhaps not surprisingly, as we mentioned, as far as the polls go. And it's funny, Sean, you mentioned earlier on in the evening, a lot of municipalities are going to be looking to the provincial and federal governments as far as funding goes. I feel like a lot of her campaign, much of her campaign was sort of based on that because she was a federal MP for several years, for 3 mandates actually. She says she knows exactly how to do that. She knows how to go and get that money. Interesting to see how much money the province and the feds will have for municipalities across the province.
Yeah, because they all have their hand up for that money, right? And they're all asking, they all have different priorities, and they've all said, no matter the municipality, they say as municipalities, they're taking on a lot more than what they would typically do. And they're doing things that are not necessarily always in their jurisdiction, but they need the money and they need the support to carry out some of the, especially a lot of the social issues.
Yeah, that's right. And what's interesting with Sherbrooke as well is that, I mean, housing is a crying issue, as it is in many places, but the previous municipal government put a moratorium on construction in the city of Sherbrooke because the sewage treatment plant is at capacity, similarly to the city of Lévis. That's been an issue there with the sewage treatment plant that has been at capacity. And so, I mean, how do you build more homes when you cannot flush the toilets in those homes?
Yeah, for sure. So that's definitely something to watch. Thank you, Allison. We'll come back to you in just a moment. And, you know, for the audience, we're bouncing back and forth between, you know, Simon and Allison and Sean because results just keep coming in and coming in and coming in. And we're bouncing back to our reporters on the field at different party headquarters because they've lined up candidates. Candidates want to speak to us. Right now, let us head to Hudson, where Chloe Rinaldi has some information for us and results for us. Chloe, good evening.
Hi, Sean. So I keep refreshing my computer to see what results are coming in. And right now, Vaudreuil-Dorion, still very, very early, but Paul Dumoulin is taking the lead with about 60% of the votes. And Karine Lechasseur is at about 40% of the vote. Still very early, and I'll continue to keep refreshing my computer to check on Vaudreuil-Dorion, Saint-Lazare, Hudson as well. And a big issue here in Vaudreuil-Dorion, like I mentioned earlier, is transit. And they, just like Sherbrooke, want to put more pressure on the provincial government to get funding to improve their roads, including Highway 20. And then another big issue here that both candidates have talked about is development. They both want to continue to develop in Vaudreuil-Dorion while respecting the environment. So that's an election that I'll be following.
All right. Thank you, Chloe. So, yeah, Paul Dumoulin so far ahead, Karine Lechasseur in second place. It is a race that is happening this time in Vaudreuil-Dorion. The last cycle of all the mayor and council seats, there's actually only one race in one district. Everybody was voted in by acclamation. So now there is a race, and we'll be following that throughout the evening. And Sean, do you have some more results for us?
Yeah, we have a couple of races, actually. I'm just going to shift back over to the big board here. First of all, let's start in Repentigny. We have a call to make there as well. The CBC decision desk in Repentigny saying again, and it's a good night for incumbents tonight, Sean. Another one being re-elected, Nicolas Dufour. We are projecting that he will continue to be mayor of Repentigny, re-elected this evening. Going to head up now over to the South Shore once again. As you mentioned, we are bouncing all over the place. Yes. Repentigny. Let's pop to the down to the other side of the island now. We can tell you CBC Decision Desk is projecting that Doreen Assad, once again, the incumbent in Brossard, easily winning that race, 92% of the vote, 92.5% of the vote, in fact, over her opponent in Brossard there. So a fairly easy victory for Doreen Assad this evening.
Right, and left to be seen also the council makeup. Well, first of all, Brossard is one of the municipalities in this province where the population has grown. If you go to their website, their population now is at around 97,000. That is up from 2021 when it was about 91,000. And when you reach a certain threshold, you're legally required to add more council seats. So Brossard went from 10 this cycle. It is going to be 12. They had to redraw some districts. So we're going to see who makes up that council now, too. And then we were talking earlier about that working relationship that Doreen Assad and Catherine Fournier of Longueuil have. That's going to continue. So Taschereau looks like it's going to be a go on the plans that they presented.
Yeah, this is exactly, we had them both in studio a little while ago, as a matter of fact, talking about this very thing, saying that Taschereau was just dangerous, a disaster. They used all kinds of words to describe Taschereau Boulevard.
Yes,
anybody who's tried to ride a bicycle
it's
down...
funny because you would expect that, the mayors of a municipality would be like, yeah, the street is great, yay. But no, they were like, no, they did not... They did not hide their...
And it's interesting because it really is, it's the kind of thing, I guess you don't have to, but really should be a joint project between the two because it runs between the two and trying to get everybody else on board on the South Shore as well. So it looks like that partnership will continue. Yeah. We talked earlier about sort of the greater Montreal area. Stéphane Boyer in Laval has a pretty close working relationship with Catherine Fournier. It's going to be interesting to see at the end of the night in Montreal who becomes mayor there and then what that greater Montreal area relationship is between the big city mayors.
Right, and let us head back on the island of Montreal to Projet Montréal headquarters at the Société des Arts Technologiques with CBC reporter Sharon Yonan-Reynolds with a candidate. Sharon, who do you have with you?
Hi, I have Robert Baudry with me, who is running to be re-elected as city councillor in the district of Saint-Jacques in the borough of Ville-Marie. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, good, really good. It was a tremendous campaign, so we're really good to be here with all the crowd, all our volunteer and the candidate.
Are you feeling confident tonight? How are you feeling?
Absolutely. The response from the people when we do door-to-door, when we go on the field was really awesome. People want a progressive administration, and we are this progressive administration for Montreal.
I want to ask you about your district and borough. We've heard a lot about the downtown sector in Montreal over the course of this election campaign, talking about issues like homelessness, some workers expressing the feeling of security concerns working in the downtown area. If elected, how do you plan to approach those issues?
We already did great roots about that. We face many challenges, as you said, in the village, in the Chinatown, in the old Montreal, but we face those challenges with the population. We are a grassroots organization, political party, and we work with population to face those issues. If I can give you an example, homeless situation, we propose modular housing. We are the administration who propose modular housing. It's a concrete response to the homelessness crisis that affects all Quebec, not only downtown Montreal, but all Quebec. So we are an organization of solution, a part of solution, and we're going to work with the population for that.
And I want to ask about you specifically, because I know you have a background in community organizations and working with vulnerable people. How does that inform your approach and your contribution to solving those issues in the borough?
To work with all the stakeholders, to work with the population who live those kind of situations. I have a great understanding of those kind of challenges. It's really important in politics. So as a politician who have a background in social organization, it's helped me to think out of the box, to find solution with social organization, and to always think how we can care of the population who are actually have less option, to give them more option as a city.
And this, if you were elected, it would be your third term. Is there anything that you would like to approach differently than what you've done in the last two terms?
We're always open to work differently, and it's going to depend on the different challenge. We said in the first term, it was to make a great change for the downtown of Montreal, to have more mobility. Then we face the COVID, and we face it with population to take care of those people. And the next time it's going to be the reimagination of the village or the Chinatown. So we're there, we listen, and we want to work with the people.
Thank you very much. Robert Baudry, running to be re-elected in the district of Saint-Jacques in the borough of Ville-Marie.
All right, thank you, Sharon and Simon. I'm going to head to you quickly. You have an update on that district specifically.
A very incremental update, but still there's some action. Right now we're at 10 polls in that particular district, And we have now Claude Pinard of Ensemble Montréal. And as I say that, it's just been updated. And now Robert Baudry is back ahead. I was going to say Claude Pinard is ahead, but now it's Robert Baudry is back ahead. 581 votes to Claude Pinard's 552 at 13 polls. And of course, Robert Baudry, executive committee member, responsible for urban planning, responsible for homelessness. A file that has been difficult for the Plante administration and for Projet Montréal. So being a downtown councillor, of course, he is acutely aware of that, and it'll be interesting to see with Claude Pinard coming from Centraide, also with the background in community organizations, to see whether or not that will flip. And there will be somebody else there. But again, right now, as I mentioned, just in the minutes that I've been updating, it's been going back and forth. So
right, and with Robert Baudry specifically, and talking about his file with the fight against homelessness, he was sitting in front of me last year, and this was at the height of all these issues about what we now call cohabitation. And I asked him flat out. I said, all of what's happening and all that's been reported, does it make other projects and future projects a tough sell? And he said, yes, it does.
I can imagine, yes. And of course, Projet Montréal is betting on this idea of building these modular homes as sort of a temporary solution, but still a solution that they are saying we can do maybe without as much support from the other levels of government, that what we would need for larger scale sort of options and things that are happening down the road. So that is going to be an interesting thing. And then on the other side, of course, Ensemble Montréal promising to triple the budget that the city spends on fighting homelessness. So a major campaign issue, and it's playing out right here.
Speaking of Ensemble Montréal, let's head back out there at La Tohu with Kwabena Oduro, who has a candidate with him. Kwabena, who do you have with you?
Sean, I am with Benoit Langevin, City Councillor for Pierrefonds. Benoit, this will be your third mandate if you get re-elected. How has Montreal changed over the time that you've been in politics?
It has changed a lot, I have to say, John. We have so many social challenges that needs to be addressed, that can no longer be ignored. And it's the reason why I'm running again. Every year, every mandate, I see more and more people on our streets. And this is the reason why, John, I worked so hard with our team at Ensemble Montréal, with Soraya backing every idea to find solutions about the housing crisis, but la crise de la rue. I mean, the people living in our street, there has to be better answers to what's going on.
So what would your better answers be? This is something that you have been big on, you have done forums on. What would your answers be?
Well, for the past 8 years, I've been asking a question about homelessness every month, to make sure that to make sure that the issue is addressed, and to make sure that we would increase the participation of Montreal. So what is Ensemble Montréal going to do? Well, we're tripling 3 times the budget. That is right now 9.5 million. What we're promising is 30 a year for 4 years. So $120 million on 4 years. And we're also taking our 10-year investment plan and taking a cut of $100 million to tackle what I've been saying year after year, that we have these empty, unused buildings across the city of Montreal that needs to be taken, that needs to get renovated and be used and give back to the most vulnerable, and be used as transitional housing, be used as transitional use. We have to win tonight. We have to win to actually see that happening, make sure that we no longer pay for buildings to heat them up and pay a security agent to prevent squatters to go inside. How about we put the money there and make sure that we house these people instead of, protecting a building that's empty?
You said it there. We have to win for change, right? How confident are you that that will happen? And what will that look like if you do?
I'm confident. I'm a positive guy. I was always a positive guy, but tonight I can feel it. I can feel it that tonight will be the day that we do the change and get Projet Montréal out. I can't wait.
Thank you very much, and good luck.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So, Sean, people are starting to trickle in. More and more city councilors, candidates, volunteers are coming here, and the spirits are very high. There's a lot of clapping going on, a lot of cheering going on when people do see some of the polls that are reporting showing Ensemble Montreal in the lead. Sean?
Thank you. That is Kobina Oduro at Ensemble Montréal headquarters. And of course, Benoit Langevin, outgoing city councillor in Pierrefonds-Roxborough. This is one of Ensemble Montréal's strongholds. Also, Benoit Langevin was the party's critic with regards to the homelessness file.
Yes, and I mean, early returns here, no surprise. He's got 1,200 plus votes versus Projet Montréal at about 185. So that's 16 polls, but it would be a very big shocker if that race were not to go for him, obviously, in that borough, an Ensemble Montréal stronghold.
All right, let's go to Sean Lyons, who's got some more results.
And Sean, we've been talking about bouncing all over the map tonight.
Yes.
Let's do a little bouncing, shall we? Start up in Saguenay, just because that is one of our major cities in the province. And I have to tell you that the results, they really are trickling in from Saguenay tonight. It took a long time for the first numbers to come in. So far, only about 4% of the polls are reporting in Saguenay. André Laforêt, the former municipal affairs minister, running for mayor there. She is still in first place, but again, very early on, Luc Boivin is right behind her. The incumbent mayor, Julie Dufour, still running fourth now. She's been bouncing between fourth and fifth so far. But again, very, very early days in Saguenay. I only mention that as well because Julie Dufour, one of the only incumbents so far that seems to be having any kind of difficulty at the start of this night. So let's head to Rivière-du-Loup in eastern Quebec there. Mario Bastille, the CBC decision desk, ready to project that Mario Bastille is re-elected as mayor of Rivière-du-Loup. And an area we've not been to yet, let's pop up to the north shore of Quebec and start in Baie-Comeau. In that part of the province, I can tell you that the incumbent mayor there has been re-elected. According to the CBC decision desk, we are projecting that Michel Desbiens has been re-elected. He will continue to serve as mayor of Baie-Comeau, winning easily something like 92% of the vote in Baie-Comeau. But Allison, I know you've been focusing on the townships, but you've been looking at some other parts of the province too. We don't have a lot of numbers for Sept-Îles yet. Those are just trickling in, but that's turning into an interesting story as well this evening.
Yeah, it's an interesting race. I've been enjoying watching right now Patrick Hudon and Benoit Méteau neck and neck, really. They just keep kind of passing each other right now. Benoit Méteau 50 votes ahead of Patrick Hudon. Now, this is an interesting race because the outgoing mayor, Denis Mius, has not sought another mandate. He sat as a city councillor for 17 years, but Sept-Îles is facing a number of different issues, public security being one of them. There have been ongoing drug wars between the Hells Angels and the Blood Family Mafia, but the impact of the Trump tariffs on the city's mining companies as well, Rio Tinto and Aluminerie Alouette has been a big deal. And you've got Benoit Méteau, who's recently retired, and that was after spending the last 18 years of his career at Rio Tinto, IOC, mainly in different managerial roles, but he really wants to concentrate his efforts on revitalizing the community, making Sept-Îles a place where young families want to come in. And Patrick Hudon, who's 32, he's a kinesiologist, and he's very focused on sports, particularly volleyball. If you didn't know, volleyball is a very big deal in Sept-Îles. So very curious to know if there's a bit of a youth vote coming out and maybe bumping him up in the polls as well. So we'll continue to keep our eye on the race in Sept-Îles.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
And Sean, very quickly, just because the CBC decision desk is ready to make another projection in a major city in this province, we are projecting that former federal cabinet minister Stephen Blaney has been elected to become mayor of Lévis on the south shore of Quebec City. Stephen Blaney, we are projecting elected in Lévis.
Thank you. Now, if you've been tuning into Daybreak every Thursday, then you've heard Justine McIntyre. She's been our municipal politics commentator for the last several weeks. And Justine joins us in studio right now. Justine, what are you watching for tonight?
Oh my gosh. First of all, I'm surprised at how quickly some of these first cities have been announced, Sean. I mean, we knew that there was a tendency that seemed to be announcing itself early in the campaign in Quebec, of course in Longueuil, in Laval, and we've had those announcements already. What I'm watching now is the city of Montreal. I'm looking at some of the boroughs that look like they might flip, that they will no longer be Projet Montréal controlled. Places like Ahuntsic, Cartierville, where we've had Émilie Tuillier, who's been mayor for 2 mandates now. It's not looking like it's going her way. There's a couple of other boroughs that are currently looking like they're going to change as well. And even Plateau Montréal, which is a real stronghold for Projet Montréal, their numbers just aren't as strong as they've been in the past. So we've been talking about this desire for change in the population, and it seems to really be making itself felt.
What role do you think parties like Action Montréal, Futur Montréal, and Transition Montréal are playing tonight so far?
You know, it's always hard when it's a first time. Transition, it's their first election. Action Montréal, it's their first time, I'm going to say, as kind of a big leagues party, because Thibodeau was there in 2021, but he was kind of a freewheeler. He was an independent and only got 1% of the vote last time around. So this time he really had more of a party around him, and you could see that he was better organized. Futur Montréal, another new party, new leader. So their struggle has been making themselves known to the Montreal population. And it's a hard thing to do. It takes time. You need to build it. And I was hoping for each of those parties that they might have a couple of seats in council. Instead, what we're seeing is sort of a spread across all of the seats that they're showing up with, 8% of the vote or 10% of the vote, or, some low percentage of the vote, but probably not enough to gain them any seats. So I think it's going to be a decision that they'll have to make once election night is over about how to continue, how to go forward.
Right, and I guess that's the question though, because I mean, you were elected under the Vrai Changement banner. You eventually became the party's leader. What happens for a new party after an election? There's some decisions that have to be made. Does it happen right away where they say, well, you know what, we're done, we're going to move on, and it was a good try while it lasted, and that's it?
That tends to happen at the municipal level. Yeah. These parties don't have a lot of longevity, and in 2017, I remember the party director said to me the day after the elections, I called him and I was like, "Where do we go from here?" And he's like, "What do you mean, where do we go? You put the key under the mat and you walk away. We're done."
Wow.
It was that clear for him, and I held on for a couple of years because I thought there's still something to do here. There's good people. We've got some good ideas. Maybe we can make something happen. So there's still, as long as you have people who are willing to work together to advance their ideas, then there is potential. There's potential to move that forward. So that's why I'm looking for, are they going to be able to get anybody elected? And if they don't get anybody elected, will they want to stick around, or will they simply disband and move on to other projects?
Right, and I can look right now. Futur Montréal ran about 52 candidates in 9 different boroughs. So we'll see what happens with that. Justine, whoever becomes mayor of Montreal, and we're just trying to look at the results, and we're following is about 670 polls out of about 3,900 reporting. But whoever becomes mayor of Montreal does have a tall order. They're dealing with solving a housing crisis. They're finding solutions to deal with homelessness, especially with colder weather on the way, and dealing with an ongoing transit strike with limited service until the end of this month. So whoever becomes mayor of Montreal, I'm not sure how quickly they will name someone from their team as chair of the board of directors of the STM, because that's something that's going to have to be dealt with almost immediately, just as immediately as some of the other issues.
Absolutely. The mayor is going to have to hit the ground running. There's not going to be really time to celebrate victory. So those plans will be made, I should think, very quickly in the first days. Who's going to sit on the board of the STM? Who is going to be on the executive committee? Which files are we going to give? Which files are we going to prioritize? And then very quickly also meet with the city director and decide, what are the parties have actually already announced what their priorities are going to be for the first 100 days. Both parties, both Projet Montréal and Ensemble Montréal, have made that very clear. So whoever it is, they're already going to have their priorities lined up, and then it's going to be about implementing that. But I do think the first order of business is dealing with the STM strike.
All right, we'll be following all of that. Justine, thank you, and we'll talk to you later. And then again tomorrow morning.
Yeah, talk to you soon.
Justine McIntyre is our municipal politics commentator on Daybreak. We are going to head to the South Shore now, to Brossard, and say good evening to Doreen Assad. The CBC Radio-Canada Decision Desk has projected Doreen Assad will be re-elected mayor of Brossard, serving a 3rd term. Good evening. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I still have goosebumps. So what an amazing night. It's magic.
Tell me, what do you think worked this time?
what do I think worked this time? I think people saw that I've been active on the ground, that I really mobilized to be able to represent them at every level of government or, faced any issue that came to Brossard. And honestly, I think people recognize the fact that we made leaps and bounds in terms of being able to bring a police station on the territory of Brossard, on Milan Street. People are seeing the growth, the economic development. I think people feel like Brossard is in good health, and they gave me their confidence for another 4 years, and I'm truly grateful for it.
And one thing about Brossard, of course, you talked about growth. The population has grown significantly. Even since 2021, the population has grown significantly to the point where you added 2 council seats. So how are you going to manage that growth going forward?
Well, that's an interesting point because we were before the elections 10 city councilors plus me 11 elected officials, and what happened is we knew that as of the moment the city of Brossard would reach the level of 100,000, that it would jump to 14. So we just wanted to make sure that it was a natural and organic growth. So we went from 10 to 12, and then we'll go to 12 to 14. But even though Brossard is growing, it wasn't really exponential. It's been the same amount of permits we've been handing out every year. It's just that people feel it more because they see it more in height, because we want to avoid urban sprawl. But I think that Brossard is growing in a constant way, in a respectful way of the existing environment, and people feel that it's positive, not negative. So I'm just hoping to help Brossard go through each of those transitions.
First order of business in this new term, what is it?
First order of business?
Yeah.
Sleep.
Yeah, of course, yes.
No, you meant for the city.
After sleep. After sleep, after taking down the signs.
After the elections is very intense time. We start getting into the budget exercise. And of course, having candidates on the ground, knocking on doors, talking with people, it might change a bit of the original plans that we had. So we're going to sit down around the table, meet with members of council, and then see how to reinvest in the upcoming budget. I promise to keep the taxation rate under inflation. So that'll be the challenge that we have, but I will succeed with my team. And next order of business is to make sure also that REM users do not go through a stressful winter. I'm going to make the necessary representation to make sure that we have the available buses so that people have the choice and are no longer forced to take one way versus another.
Right. And Doreen Assad, I'm looking at the City of Brossard's website right now. It looks like your entire team is on its way to council as well. Is that correct?
Oh my God, I don't want to. I'm sorry. I don't want to say anything until I know for sure.
You don't know
but
yet.
You're
Okay.
giving me goosebumps right now.
Okay. Well, we'll wait. We'll wait.
What an honor. If that's the case, the population should know that I accept their confidence in all humility and that they made the right decision.
Right.
But I'm not saying any more for now.
Right. Well, like I said, it looks like. So I spoke on the conditionnel. How's that?
It's okay.
Well, we will talk again soon. Doreen Assad, congratulations. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
That is Doreen Assad. CBC Decision Desk has projected she will be reelected Mayor of Brossard, serving a 3rd term. Let us head from Brossard to Lévis. Sarah Kate Dallaire is at Stephen Blaney's election night headquarters, and the CBC Decision Desk, CBC Radio-Canada Decision Desk, has projected that Stephen Blaney will be the next mayor of Lévis. Sarah, what are things like there now?
As you can hear, things are getting really loud here in Lévis tonight. Projected elected mayor Stephen Blaney is speaking as I am speaking with you at the moment. He took the time to salute the work of outgoing mayor Gilles Laoulier, saying he dedicated 12 years of his life to being the mayor of Lévis for the past 12 years. Took the time to thank his whole team, and also took the time to mention his first things he wants to tackle next. He will be, as he said, working on the 3rd link between Quebec and Lévis, working hand in hand with projected elected mayor Marchand, as well as working to make Lévis' prosperity a continuing effort and a lasting one. He said he's thankful and emotional tonight, thanking his father, thanking his family, and taking the time to speak with every one of his members tonight. The crowd, as you can hear, getting louder and louder every moment. Sean.
All right, thank you. That is our reporter, Sarah K. Dallaire at Stephen Blaney's election night headquarters. CBC Radio-Canada Decision Desk has projected Stephen Blaney will be the next mayor of Lévis. Let us head now back here to Montreal at Ensemble Montréal headquarters at La Torue, where we find the CBC's Quebec Oduro with another candidate.
Hey, Sean, I'm here with Jim Bays, who's seeking re-election in Pierrefonds as the mayor for the 4th time. What is the reality in Pierrefonds?
Look, we are not unlike any other community. We have all the same challenges. We may not be the center city, but we all face housing crisis. We all face, homelessness. We have issues with managing budgets, streets, infrastructure. We face the same issues across Montreal. What's beautiful about our community is, and I can speak for my council, we are really anchored in the community, and we are there day to day for the citizens. And as much as we'd like to find solutions for everything, it's not always easy. What I do know is we have the trust in the community, and tonight's numbers as they're coming in proves to me that at least the majority of the public that votes believes in what we've done all these years and wants to bring us back. And I'm very, very, very thankful for that.
Let's talk about these numbers coming in. It's still very early. We're still seeing some polls still have to close. But what is your feeling so far with seeing these numbers coming in so far with Ensemble in a lead in a lot of places?
Look, I've always said, I've never taken anything for granted. I always wait until the end before anything is even announced. Certainly it is encouraging. It is encouraging that from the start you have the leads that you have throughout the island of Montreal. Even in some strongholds, you're seeing some of the change that we were hoping for. And now hopefully this continues into the rest of the evening and we see some real change within other structures and boroughs that maybe we've never had a foot in. And so here the reality of tonight is to really look at these numbers. Again, not assume that everything is perfect, but it just means that there is so much work ahead of us. And the challenge will be there because the transitional period and to bring back Montreal to where we were used to once upon a time, not everything has to change, but there are fundamental issues in Montreal that all Montrealers deal with that I believe the administration, should we win and have the administration in Montreal, I believe we're up for the challenge and we'll be able to make those changes in a prioritizing way.
You mentioned change. Ensemble Montreal has been preaching change. What does change actually look like, though?
Well, change is, look, the motto is we listen and we act. How many times have we seen in files throughout Montreal, again, without, blasting an administration, but the reality is, and what we hear from the citizens, is that there hasn't been enough listening, and there's been unilateral decisions made without even proper consultations. I'm not telling you that. The majority of Montrealers are telling you that. And the idea that we could be in the Montreal administration and running the city of Montreal clearly indicates to me that the public, is tired of the same old, administration that maybe won't listen to them the way they would like. And so what we've said from the beginning, and I know we do it to the best of our ability in Pierrefonds Roxborough, again, not being able to respond to every issue, but we do it in the best way that we can. And I believe with Soraya as the mayor of Montreal, with the team around her, we're up for that challenge.
Thank you very much, Jim. Good luck. So, Sean, we just heard from Jim Bays, the current mayor in Montreal, who's seeking re-election for his 4th term. And here at the Torue, a lot of people are cheering as they start to see more results coming in. Sean?
All right, thank you. That is Quebec Oduro. Let's get some quick results. Here's Sean Lyons.
Yeah, we've got just a few smaller races to tell you about, but we have some calls to make from the CBC Radio-Canada Decision Desk. These are all projections from our Decision Desk. Let's start in the town of Alma. Sylvie Beaumont, she is the incumbent. We are projecting Sylvie Beaumont re-elected in Alma. Let's head over to the Granby area near Montreal now. We can tell you there the incumbent Julie Bourdon. We are projecting Julie Bourdon re-elected in Granby as well. And heading up to Rimouski now. now. I'm just going to flip over there. Rimouski now, a name that will be familiar to many of our listeners, former NDP MP and the incumbent there, Guy Caron. We are projecting re-elected in Rimouski. A reminder, a couple of the big races we're still watching, Saguenay and Gatineau. Numbers are trickling in, but too early to make any calls there yet.
Right. And Simon, let's head to some of the demerged municipalities on the island of Montreal, because we're starting to see some results from there too.
Yeah, I haven't been ignoring them on purpose.
No,
it's because we
for
are,
sure not.
The results are coming in a little bit more slowly there. The most that we have so far is in Beaconsfield. Of course, there will be a new mayor there. Right now, it's Martin Saint-Jean who is leading city councilor. There's 674 votes to the next best in that area, which is Gregory Orleski. He's at 430. We are getting some very, very early results in Côte Saint-Luc. Mitchell Brownstein ahead there, 192 votes to David Tordman. He's got 65. And of course, that is only 2 polls, but that's a rematch.
Yes.
Mitchell Brownstein took that one last time and is looking to take that one as well. Still nothing, though, from Westmount. Very, 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 very few returns from Pointe Claire. John Belvedere's got 14. Tim Thomas has 11. I mean, it's very early there.
But also another rematch there,
But also another rematch, and a rematch that's sort of a back to the future, trying to reclaim, John Belvedere trying to reclaim his previous seat there.
Yeah, and there was an attempt for a recount after that election, but it was rejected, and Tim Thomas won that seat, and of course he is running to be reelected as mayor of Pointe Claire. So we will see how that shapes up. Alison, what are you looking at right now?
I'm looking at Drummondville and Trois-Rivières right now. Tight races in both spots. Right now, 78% of the polls have come in for Drummondville, and we're seeing Jean-François Houle leading right now ahead of David Bélanger, and that is what was expected of him. He has been a lawyer for 35 years. His campaign focused a lot on homelessness and wanting to make sure, he says, you just can't, the cost of doing nothing is just too high. So we're seeing that so far paying off for him. And in Trois-Rivières as well, we're seeing Jean-François Aubin slightly in the lead right now as well. We're still waiting for some polling to come in there. But interesting for Drummondville, for the first time ever, 6 candidates running for that position of mayor. So quite a lot for not a huge city.
And Sean, I wanted to jump in really quickly because we're watching Trois-Rivières, of course, and just as an out of the corner of our eyes, I've been watching Shawinigan as well. Not a big race, but it's interesting because Yves Lévesque is one of the candidates there, the former mayor of Trois-Rivières, now deciding to run next door in Shawinigan.
Right, thank you. We are going to head here in Montreal to Projet Montréal headquarters at the Société des Arts Technologiques. CBC reporter Sharon Yonan-Reynolds is there with a guest, the mayoral candidate. Sharon, who is it?
I'm here with Gracia Kasokikatawa, who is running to be re-elected as the borough mayor of Côte-des-Neiges NDG. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great. Honestly, to feel the energy in this room. There's so many people here, that supported us all along. We did like every minute we were on the ground. So we're proud of the campaign, and now it's up to the citizen to to determine the fate of the city.
And I wonder, during the time that you were campaigning and going door to door, talking to people, what did you hear from voters about what they want in your specific borough?
People want to continue to progress. They still want Montreal to be a progressive city. For them, housing is a priority. They don't want the city to be run by the 1%. There's a lot of renters in Côte-des-Neiges and NDG, like in Montreal. So they want, everyday citizens to be able to deliver for them. And I also hear that there's many things that we need to change, the construction sites, for example, cleanliness. So I heard that. So what I heard is that if we want to be able to continue to progress, we need to be able to deliver on those things, but people don't want to go back and they don't trust Rara Martinez-Ferrada.
Okay, at the moment, last I checked, she was in the lead. We know last election, it was a very tight margin, your lead against the Ensemble Montréal candidate. How confident are you feeling about your chances tonight?
Yeah. Oh my God, I learned from the last experience. So it's happening. The same thing is happening right now. It's because the places where people have been voting for Projet Montréal, they didn't start to count those votes yet. So it's really, really early to be able to determine who's going to win. I had good vibes on the ground. People were telling us that they were voting for us. So honestly, it's anybody's game right now. So we're just going to wait for the results.
Okay, and of course, Luc Rabouin the head of Projet Montréal has, in a vote of confidence, selected you to be his number 2. If you were elected, what would it mean to you to have that very essential role in Montreal City Council?
Oh my God, it will be an important responsibility, specifically with the challenges that we face today. The housing crisis, the homelessness crisis. One of the reasons why Luc Rabouin chose me is because of my background in the healthcare system. So yes, the city will have to do its part, but we're gonna have definitely to work, with the healthcare system to see, how we could handle that crisis better. And I've seen it during the pandemic. We've done it. We've come out of a mondial, a world crisis. We're able to come out of this crisis as well. I believe that we're able to do it, and I'm going to work closely with my colleagues at, in the healthcare system and with the city to do what we're able to do within our own competencies.
Gracia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sean.
All right, thank you, Sharon. And Simon, you have some results for the Côte-des-Neiges NDG borough.
Yes, and speaking of Gracia Kasoki-Katawa, she's currently trailing. She's got 1,840 votes versus Stephanie Valenzuela, who has nearly 4,400. So that's about a 60% to 25% split. And of course, those numbers in 2021 were razor thin, talking about 160 odd votes.
Yeah. In the end, it ended up being 135, I believe, but it was, or maybe it was 160. Either way, it was in the 100.
Yeah. It was, and that's
for sure.
That's a big borough too. That is one of the most. I think it is the most populous borough, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, there definitely quite a lead there, and we're seeing it too in some other Projet Montréal. I would say boroughs that Ensemble Montréal is going to have to start to look at flipping if they want to have more councillors, and if we want to see a trend happening. Chantal Gagnon in Merci Hochelaga Maisonneuve is ahead by about 1,000 votes, 33,400 to about 2,300. And then, as mentioned by Justine earlier, Émilie Tullier in Hansé-Cartierville is behind right now her Ensemble Montréal challenger, Maude Théroux-Séguin, and that's about 50% for Maude Théroux-Séguin versus 37% for Émilie Tullier.
I want to go back to Côte-des-Neiges NDG for a second, because that was a borough in 2021 where there was a lot of back and forth. And I remember having conversations with Gracia Kasoki-Katawa a couple of days later, well, the night of, and then the morning after, because the votes were still being counted. But even a couple of days later, she said that, because and I'm bringing this up because she said, they know where the votes are left to be counted. And that was the situation last time. She told us that the votes that had yet to be counted were in the Côte-des-Neiges district and in the NDG district. And those are two districts that, at the time at least, supported Projet Montréal. Will that happen again? Will history repeat itself? We'll see. There's no telling what will happen this time. We're just watching those numbers come in, and we'll see how the votes shape up.
Yeah, fairly substantial lead now, but as you said, it's early, and that is one of those boroughs where there are a couple of Ensemble Montréal, districts that are traditionally vote more Ensemble Montréal.
Right, Snowden and Darlington.
And then further south, more Projet Montréal strongholds.
Yeah, Loyola is usually a toss-up. That district is usually a toss-up. The voter turnout is quite decent in that district, but it usually is a toss-up. Despina Sourias, who's running again, is won that seat also in a recount. So there was a lot of recounts. There's a lot of tight races, actually, in Côte-des-Neiges NDG. So she's running again in Loyola, running against Renata Betts from Transition Montréal, Svetlana Chernienko with Futur Montréal, and Alexander Teodorescu with Ensemble Montréal. So we'll see how that shapes up as well. And again, we don't know whether these will be wide margins, whether these will be tight races, but it's still, we're saying it's early, but we're starting to see the things solidify. We're starting to see more polls be counted, though.
Yeah, and I'm being told that now we are past the early voting returns, so now we're starting to get into today's voting. And on of course, the sort of headline race, the mayor of Montreal, Soraya Martinez-Frada, her percentage has been going down. She's at about 46% roughly of the vote right now, with just under 54,000 votes versus Luc Rabouin's just under 40,000, 39.5 kind of thing. And he's at about 34%. So there's still a significant difference there, but Rabouin is making it up a little bit on percentage-wise. But again, we haven't seen really any dramatic swings, and those are, at this point in the night, we're starting to see more and more numbers, about 1,200 polls. So we're getting close to, about a third of the votes have been counted there. And Gilbert Thibodeau doing very well there for a third-party candidate at 10% of the vote. He's got almost triple what he got last time. So,
all right, we'll be following that. Alison, what are you watching right now?
I am looking at, we have gotten word that Sébastien Gascou has been reelected in Amos. Not a surprise there, according to the polls, but very low voter turnout rate for Amos. A little earlier this evening, we're looking at somewhere in the likes of 8% voter turnout.
Wow.
I'm looking to see if that, I'm trying to find out if that has gone up at all since the last numbers came in. Haven't seen, but yeah, very, very low count. Whether that's because people just maybe assumed Sébastien Gascou was going to get in or not too sure. I've got my eye as well on Mont-Tremblant right now. We're getting just the first of the votes starting to trickle in, but an interesting race there between Pascal de Bellefeuille and Dominique Laverdure. Right now, they're equal, 142 votes each. So interesting. Pascal de Bellefeuille, he has been nicknamed the ambassador of Mont-Tremblant. He's worked for the Chamber of Commerce. He's been a volunteer doing all kinds of community and volunteer work in Mont-Tremblant for the last 40 years. And then you've got Dominique Laverdure, who she was a municipal councillor in the past. She also stepped in as a deputy mayor, but she was a little while back, she was embroiled in a little bit of controversy with regards to a luxury condo development that was there. She was the director of Rouge Marketing, which had been tasked with developing sort of the brand for this the condo. And there were a few decisions that were made. She had been asked to recuse herself and did not do that at the time. So people were asking some questions whether that sort of stepped over the line or not. Right now, we're only at 4%, so it's too early to tell, but interesting to see that those votes are exactly even. So
I wonder what would happen, and I'm not saying it will, but I'm wondering what would happen in the case of a tie.
I would imagine that, first of all, there'd be a recount.
Yes.
But, yeah, great question. I don't know if that's ever happened.
When I was working as a reporter in Windsor, Ontario, there was an election in one of the municipalities that ended in a tie. And then there was a recount, and it was still a tie. And the way the mayor won, coin toss.
Really?
Yes.
Heads or tails?
I don't remember. You don't remember? But it was a coin toss. It was quite interesting. So
fair enough.
I don't know. I mean, what would happen in the case of a tie? I don't know if it works the same way in every province. But
there was in Plessisville this year. There were actually two mayors for the town of Plessisville, so that was kind of funny. It only happened, I think, for about 6 months, and it was because there was a merger in the town. There was the paroisse de Plessisville, and then there was the community, the municipality of Plessisville, but they merged, and so it wasn't a coin toss there. They just decided they would work together. So for one small community, two mayors. There you go.
There is one municipality, and we have to go find it, but there was one municipality where both candidates have the exact same name. And I don't remember how they split the two. I'll go look it up. I think it's on Radio Canada's website. But there is a municipality where the candidates both have the exact same name, and they figured out a way how they're going to split it up on the ballot to make sure you know who exactly it is you're voting for. But there's some little stories here and there.
Yeah, some cute little things that happen. Coin tosses, two mayors for one community, two double names. There you go.
Sean Lyons, what are you looking at?
I just want to tell you we're keeping an eye on two of the big city races that are still, the numbers are just kind of trickling in now. First of all, in Saguenay, André Laforêt, the former municipal affairs minister, continues to lead there with about 58% of the vote ahead of Luc Boivin, a local businessman who's got 33%. The incumbent mayor, Judith Dufour, still hanging back in fourth place with only 1.4% of the vote. But we, again, just just a few votes coming in there now. We are at about 20% of the vote for Saguenay right now. In Gatineau, keeping an eye on that one as well, about 10% of the vote is in there now, and Mario Aubé continues to lead with about 53% of the vote, but just ahead of the incumbent mayor, Maude Marquis-Bissonnette, who has 44% of the vote. And just real quickly as I wrap up here, I mentioned earlier, I snickered a little bit. I was talking about keeping an eye on Shawinigan because Yves Lévesque, the former mayor of Trois-Rivières, was running there trying to get a new mayoralty kind of right next door. And just after I closed my mouth and we went off to the field, the CBC decision desk projecting that indeed Yves Lévesque has won that seat in Shawinigan. So he will serve as mayor of Shawinigan, heading up the 55 from Trois-Rivières to take over another city hall.
Saint-Honoré de Témiscouata. Richard Dubé is facing off against Richard Dubé. So
straightforward.
Yeah. So the way that
I like Richard Dubé's chances.
How does that work on a ballot?
So what they did is what they settled on is that they're gonna vote for either Richard F. Dubé, who is the son of Fernand, or Richard B. Dubé, who's the son of Benoit. That's how voters. And if we
a
could
middle initial
maybe,
and a father's name.
Right, and I want if we could pull up Saint-Honoré de Témiscouata to see who's ahead. That would be quite interesting. But yeah, those are some of the little stories here and there playing out. Just in case you're joining us, my name is Sean Henry. You are listening to our election special. It is broadcast on all our platforms. We're watching as results continue to come in. We're following Montreal, of course, the merged municipalities were off the island as well. A lot of the calls, though, have been off the island, have already been made. So we're talking about Laval, we're talking about Longueuil. Longueuil was the first one
That's right.
that was made. Brossard, and we spoke to Doreen Assad. So, yeah. Are we going somewhere now? I'm hearing we are going to Quebec City and to Chateau Laurier, where Bruno Marchand is taking the stage right now.
Merci, c'est vraiment touchant de vous voir. Merci
Thank you, everyone.
sincèrement d'être là.
It's extremely moving to see you all here this evening.
C'est vraiment, vraiment, vraiment un vent
It is
dans nos
truly,
voiles que vous nous avez amené du début jusqu'à ce
truly a
soir.
wind in our sails that you have brought us
Mais
right
quand
up
même,
into
c'est
this
avec une
evening.
profonde humilité.
But it is also with great humility
qu'on accueille les résultats ce soir.
and great hope that we welcome these results tonight.
Que la confiance que vous nous
The
témoignez,
humility to understand the confidence
sincèrement,
that you're bestowing in
bien
me,
précieux.
it's rare.
C'est un cadeau
It
inestimable.
is a precious gift, an
Cette campagne
inestimable
dont nous sommes
gift.
très fiers,
This campaign, of which we are extremely
faut également
proud,
savoir reconnaître que c'est pas le résultat
we
du
should also
travail
need to
d'une personne ou d'un
recognize
petit
that
groupe,
this isn't the result of a work of one person or one small group, but
de milliers, des bénévoles, des donateurs,
it is the
des
sum of
citoyens
all of
engagés
the
qui
work
l'ont
of the
façonné
thousands of the volunteers and the donors and those who gave all with their hearts, with their engagement, with their generosity. I'm thinking of each of you this evening. I'm not going to name everyone. I can't name everyone, but I'm thinking of you all.
Vous me permettrez d'avoir aussi une pensée
If you'll
pour
allow me,
21
I
personnes
also
qui ont
have
mis leur
some
face sur une
thinking of
pancarte avec courage, qui ont fait
21 people
campagne
who put their
en équipe,
faces on
solidaire,
our
dédié, engagé.
posters.
Chacun des candidats et
These
candidates,
dedicated,
merci pour la
engaged people,
confiance.
each of
Merci
these
pour le
candidates
travail.
who
C'était
ran in this
magnifique.
election, for your confidence, for your work. It is magnificent.
J'ai envie de reconnaître la contribution au débat
I
démocratique de
want
tous les
also
autres
to thank the
chefs. Monsieur Lachance, Monsieur
contributions
Lamar,
of
Monsieur
all of the
Villeneuve,
other
Smith,
candidates, naming all the candidates now, and all of their candidates. We are so lucky here in Quebec, we're spoiled. This is not an election by acclamation. People stood up to run, to actually take part in democracy. I want to have a special thought for Mr. Villeneuve, who served 4 years in opposition. As the head of the opposition, I want to thank him for everything he's done for the city of Quebec. Of course, this evening, some of their supporters are likely disappointed with this result. This campaign was their opportunity to be heard. Their concerns have been heard. The humility that we have is to acknowledge that some people have lost confidence in our public institutions, our ability to manage our common good. That this social context, economic context, environmental context, and the changes that are coming, they shake us all up. As the quality of life of many families is harmed. We have to do better. We have to listen better. We have to hear people's fears, understand their challenges, to reassure them and to join them, to help them. We have to understand that a city like ours can help each of us. And that is my responsibility. It is my responsibility to do better. Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu gave us the concept of Ubuntu. I am what we are. I do not exist alone. I am not the results of my own effort. We are something bigger than ourselves. If my community suffers, I suffer as well. The environment, the people who live around me as well. We have to build a city that takes care of all of the people who live there, a community where all of our children can grow. The work of being an elected person is lent to us. If we want to build something, we want to build something great for the future. That's our challenge. Humility is also understanding that others have come before us. We didn't build Quebec. It was built by those who gave up so long, who lit this candle. I'm thinking of those who led this city since the municipal mergers, who took on great challenges to bring us where we are today. I think also of all of those who came before them. Mothers, fathers, grandmothers and grandmothers who through their work and their engagement in the private sector, community sector, public life have built this city for more than 400 years. For all of you who have that age, that experience, I have a question, I have an ask of you. We need you. You've been spending your life meeting these challenges, seeing this transformation. We need that force, that wisdom to get us through, because we're not in our first crises. Yes, times are complex. The challenges are great. But this is not our first winter in Quebec. We've had more than 400 winters. Hope begins with our ability to remember that everything is possible. That hope resides in that force that is in us to build the future. I want that same courage that you had before us, the courage to take bold decisions for future generations, to get together, to debate. As some people will try to divide us, we have to remember that there isn't a suburb fighting against downtown. There is one city. There's one city, a plural city that is diverse in all of its neighborhoods, and that is a great riches. There's not a citizen born here and someone born somewhere else. There is a citizen who's helping build this city every day. There aren't good or bad people. Taking your car isn't a crime, neither is taking your bike. Being afraid of change, doubting as well, despite all of that, hope is where our future lies. There's one thing that this election has taught me tonight, is that people want to adopt a positive vision for the future of this city. A positive vision for the future. And that, to have that positive vision of the future, that doesn't mean that we don't have challenges to overcome. That doesn't mean that we are wearing rose-colored glasses. It just means that we have confidence that we can get over those challenges, to have hope to overcome uncertainty, to have the boldness to have confidence in our young people, to this team that is going to enter into City Hall after they're sworn in. There are young people there, and yes, we are going to have to hand the keys of this city to the next generation. We are going to have to, in Quebec, that we start having faith in our young people. We have to learn to be bold, to learn that people can push us from behind to say, go faster, because they are the ones who are going to benefit from the decisions we make, that they're going to live the longest with the decisions we make. I believe we have everything we need to create the future. I believe in our immense ability to overcome challenges. I believe in our power, collective power, to improve people's lives here, no matter where they live in this city. Our capacity to offer a longer quality of life and a better quality of life, to manage our common goods. And yes, some people don't believe that because there are big challenges, including taxes, bringing our taxes down. I believe in our ability to overcome congestion, traffic, to support our economy and to build a better future, our courage, where we are in this place in history, to make difficult choices to overcome climate change. In Quebec, if you feel the same energy I do, if you feel the same love for this city, if you feel the same passion that we have this evening, if you feel the same hope that we do for Quebec, then this evening, then we believe all things are possible from this point out.
Quebec, pour qu'on
Quebec,
puisse, dans un temps assez rapproché,
so that we can, in a fairly short timeline, look our children in the eyes, look their children, our grandchildren in the eyes, and hand them the torch that they can carry high in power and pride. We are going to pledge to move forward. As those who came before us were able to carry and do great things in the city, we can hand the same off to the next generations, to demand the best of us. It's not always easy. We will need to debate. We're going to sometimes call our own work into question, but one thing is sure. I am deeply sure that we can be inspired. We can inspire this region and provide inspiration to the world, because here nothing is impossible. Thank you all. Thank you for your support. The future belongs to you. Thank you.
That is Quebec City Mayor Bruno Marchand. Thank you to Sean Lyons for that translation, that speech. First of all, recognizing his opponents, saying that, Quebec City is spoiled to have all those candidates, because we know that in some municipalities, mayors and councillors, for that matter, were elected by acclamation, whereas in Quebec City, there were 8 candidates.
And a particular shout out to Mr. Villeneuve, who was who's been the head of the official opposition at City Hall. And the two of them have gone toe to toe on a number of big issues over the years, and shouting at that. And you heard a very positive message from the mayor there as well, kind of saying, learning the lessons from the past and handing something off to the future generations in Quebec City.
And we're going to come back to that in just a moment. We're going to look at more results. Simon, what do you have for us?
Well, just touching base on the main race, Soraya Martinez-Ferrada out ahead. That percentage continues to decrease now, and we're starting to get more. I'd say that it's narrowing ever so slightly. Now we're talking at 74,500 votes for Soraya Martinez-Ferrada, and about just 58,000 for Luc Rabouin. So there we're talking about 1,600 polls approximately. So just over a third of the vote of the polls have been reported. And Gilbert Thibodeau still maintaining that 10% figure at about 16,700 votes. Craig Sauvé at 8.1%, so he is making a dent as well in those figures. And then Futur Montréal's Jean-François Cacou, he's clocking in at about just under 2%, so about 3,250 votes there. So still early, but we are starting to see that sort of 10-15%, or that 15% lead start to go more to about a 10% lead. But still, there's a good almost 20,000 votes between them. So there's still work to be made up for Projet Montréal there.
Right, absolutely. So we'll continue to follow that throughout the evening. Demerged municipalities, is there anything new on that front?
Well, let me take a quick look here. Looks like it's about the same situation in Beaconsfield. 841 votes for Martin Saint-Jean versus 521 for Gregory Orleski. If we move over to Westmount, I would take a quick look to see if there's anything that has come in there. Nothing yet so far in Westmount. So we're still getting some fairly results trickling in. Nothing in Hampstead yet. That's why we are not talking about them, because we don't have the results yet.
Not that we don't love them. It's just that we're waiting for results in them. And Beaconsfield, let's talk about that for a second. Of course, George Burrell announcing that he is not going to run again after serving a couple terms in office. And one of the issues, I know there's many just about everywhere, one of the issues was that sound wall. Along Highway 20. I think we've all covered it at some point.
It's a rite of passage.
Residents know that this is an issue. It's a lingering issue. And the big issue, or one of the many issues with that sound wall, is who's going to pay for it. And, and of course, again, let's talk about it. The higher level of government, Quebec. And there's some conflict there about the price tag, first of all, and then again, who's going to pay for it,
and whether the entire city is going to pay for it, or whether the people that are directly
who live in the area,
and if they are, then again, this is an issue that has been going on for a while, and George Burrell, he's been in for a while, and I guess it's still going on. It's still ongoing. So one of these issues that we see in Montreal sometimes, like the Cavendish extension, of course, as well, which is an issue, and some of the suburbs, the on-island suburbs. So, infrastructure,
infrastructure is a big thing.
It's always a talking point.
And we will continue to follow that. Let's go right now to Ensemble Montréal headquarters at La Tortue, where Quabina Oduro has another candidate with him. Quabina.
Hey, Sean, I'm here with Alba Zuniga Ramos, seeking re-election for her second term in Hochelaga Maisonneuve-Mercier. Alba, what are the pressing issues in your borough?
Well, you think there's a lot of things that happen in the past 8 years in the area, and I think people are sick and tired of, first of all, having an administration that doesn't listen to them. And we see people saying that all the time. Obviously, the garbage pickup that was changed from 2 weeks to 1 week without allowing citizens to adapt properly has been a huge issue. Let's talk about homelessness and how it was not handled properly by the current administration as well. And in general, people want better services, but they also want to be heard by the people that they have elected. And it's something that hasn't happened in the area in the past 8 years.
So what does change in your area look like under a new administration with Ensemble Montreal?
So we know we're
And this in the CBC Radio-Canada decision desk is projecting Soraya Martinez-Ferrada will be the next mayor of Montreal. Soraya Martinez-Ferrada became the leader of Ensemble Montréal at the end of February. Before that, she was an MP and cabinet minister in the Trudeau government. Martinez-Ferrada ran on a campaign of change with the slogan, Listen and Act. She pointed out a number of issues that dogged the Plante administration, namely Camille Oud, cleanliness, where you just heard Quabina Oduro talking with Alba Zuniga Ramos, a candidate in Mercier Hochelaga Maisonneuve, about cleanliness, construction, and bike paths. So again, the CBC Radio-Canada decision desk is projecting that Soraya Martinez-Ferrada will be the next mayor of Montreal. Simon.
Yeah, and to be, quite a remarkable story here. The second female mayor of Montreal. We've also got, someone who came to Canada as a refugee from Chile, as a child, moving through the ranks of municipal politics. First, elected in Saint-Michel as a councillor in 2005. Ended up working with Louise Arel, and then actually, actually ran against Ensemble Montréal, against Annie Sanson, actually, back in 2013. So that is an interesting sort of nugget there that she's now leading the party that she lost to there. She was with the Coalition at the time.
Oh, that's right.
And, I remember actually, it's interesting you mentioned Hochelaga. I remember that I interviewed her the day after that she won, because it had been the first time since about 35 years or something that the Liberals had won Hochelaga. And she was, I was interviewing her as one of the new candidates in the Trudeau government that had sort of swept into power in Quebec. And I just remember being impressed by the organization of her office for being somebody who was just really elected. She had staff that was really on the ball, and then of course eventually became tourism minister, Liberal Party campaign co-chair. So somebody who did actually have quite a bit of municipal politics, then went to the federal side. It'll be interesting to see if she can leverage that federal experience, given that she was a cabinet minister in the Liberal government that is now going to be the Liberal government that she is going to be having to say, can we have some money for this? Can we have some money for that? So very interesting. And I mean, something that she said in her statement when she did resign from federal politics, something that was interesting, quote, the desire to serve the city that welcomed the young refugee from Chile, to serve the city that gave me my start in politics, it's one that's too important to ignore. So quite an interesting Montreal story there. Somebody who came here at that age, fleeing persecution, is now leading the city.
All right, then. Thank you, Simon. And I know we cut Kwabena Oduro off at Le Tohu to make that call. So let us go back to Le Tohu right away. Kwabena, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. It was loud. As soon as the call was made, everyone was cheering. They were screaming out, Soraya, Soraya. People here are happy. People here are really confident. And I am still with Alba Zuniga Ramos. When you heard the call, what was your reaction?
Listen, we made history tonight, and I'm really excited, not only for our team, but for Montrealers at large. I think we proved tonight that we can do it, that people send the message that they need to be heard, and it's the first time that we have a woman from a visible minority making history in Canada, making history in Montreal. So we're really proud and we're really excited for what is to come in Montreal.
So what's next now that we have called Soraya Martinez-Ferrada the next mayor of Montreal? What's next for Ensemble Montreal?
Listen, there's a lot to be done, and we're here for it. We have an amazing platform. We have people that have been involved with the party for a long, long time. We're ready to tackle the work that needs to be done to make Montreal a great city.
Thank you very much. So, Sean, people here are still cheering very loudly. They're sharing hugs, and everyone is in smiles as the call is made. Sean, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Kwabena. I bet they are very, very happy. That is Kwabena Oduro at Ensemble Montréal headquarters at La Tohu. Let us go to Projet Montréal headquarters at the Société des Arts Technologiques, where we find the CBC's Sharon Yonan-Reynolds. Sharon, what's the mood like there?
So, Sean, we're at the point of the evening where it feels like reality is starting to set in for some of the candidates. I actually spoke to one of the campaign managers for Projet Montréal, and he was telling me, like, looking at the results, it's not what people were hoping for. It's not what they were expecting. You know, some of these key boroughs like Lachine, where they were really hoping for Maya Vodanovic to be reelected as borough mayor. Right now she is trailing behind. There still are, a lot of votes that need to be counted, a lot of polling stations that haven't been counted yet. And to be fair, Projet Montréal is leading in several boroughs, including Plateau, Mont-Royal, the Sud-Ouest. Île-Bizarre, Saint-Geneviève, the Projet Montréal candidate running for borough mayor seems to be in the lead right now, but a lot of the councillors in the lead are the ones running for Ensemble Montréal. Projet is still leading in Rosemont, La Petite Patrie, no big surprises there, and Villeray, Saint-Michel. Park Extension, just a little while ago, I would say that the room was a lot more enthusiastic. Candidates who were giving speeches, trying to keep spirits high and showing a lot of enthusiasm. And I think for a lot of people, disappointment is starting to set in a little bit, kind of questions about what's next if they're not elected.
All right. Thank you, Sharon. That is Sharon Yonan-Reynolds at Projet Montréal, headquarters at the Société des Arts Technologiques. Now, Simon, Sharon brought up one borough specifically, l'Île Bizarre, Saint-Geneviève. And there's an interesting story there because Danielle Mirand, who is Projet's candidate, she used to be a borough councillor with Ensemble Montréal. So there were two Ensemble Montréal candidates or borough councillors who left the party to run with Projet Montréal. And at least for Danielle Mirand, so far, it seems to be paying off. The layout right now, or the composition of borough council in l'Île Bizarre, Saint-Geneviève, looks like it's going to be her with a lot of Ensemble Montréal councillors.
Yeah, and it's interesting when it comes to that particular borough, as you mentioned, because Doug Hurley won that in a by-election recently. I went out there actually and spoke to him and talked about some of the issues. Of course, the bridge there, a major issue. Also, traffic. People feeling that there was not enough traffic calming measures out there as well, and natural space, green space.
Yes.
So
we had that conversation with voters there, l'Île Bizarre, Saint-Geneviève, preserving their natural space. Yeah. They say that area is the best kept secret.
It's pretty nice.
It's beautiful out there, and they actually would rather you not come. They like to keep that area to themselves. You can go, just be nice and just be respectful
and
of their space.
Don't speed.
And don't speed. And the other thing too, we heard from residents in l'Île Bizarre, because Sarah Dehay and I did our first voters' voice of this cycle was in l'Île Bizarre, Saint-Geneviève. In many ways, because of that switching of teams, and we wanted to know how that played out, but that didn't really come up very much. What came up a lot was, like you said, was green space, was the traffic, the golf tournament where they saw no return from. There was of no benefit to residents of l'Île Bizarre, Saint-Geneviève. But the other thing that came up is that they want more things to do in l'Île Bizarre, Saint-Geneviève.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned too, the golf tournament was I think there were a lot of people that found that very challenging.
Yes, it was the second one, or second or third one, but anyway, this last one really didn't work out for them.
Yeah, exactly, and it's interesting too because this has been a part of the island that has known some switching going on. Of course, Norman Marinacci as well switching their in 2017 to Projet Montréal. So it's a fluid electorate there right now. The results are still pretty early. So we're talking about 1,229 votes for Danielle Mirand and about 1,009 for Doug Hurley. So it is fairly early, but still we're talking about a 10% lead. So it's a good lead right now, and 24 polls reporting there.
Thank you, Simon. So we'll be following those results and following how that plays out. But right now, what it looks like is, again, as you said, Danielle Mirand running against Doug Hurley. She is in the lead, but by the looks of it, if this continues and she becomes the next mayor of l'Île Bizarre, Saint-Geneviève, a bright spot for Projet Montréal, a borough that they took back, but it looks flipped. But it looks like she'll be with a lot of Ensemble Montréal councillors, and what we're looking at right now in other boroughs is flips on the other side, going from Projet Montréal to Ensemble Montréal. So we'll be looking at that. Allison, what are you looking at right now?
Well, while we have been talking, and there's been a lot of action happening, but we have results now for Victoriaville. CBC Radio-Canada projecting that Vincent Bourassa has been re-elected in Victoriaville with 64.2% of the votes there, so not too much of a surprise. And then for Sept-Îles as well, I was looking at that early on this evening, but Benoit Méteau has been elected, or is the mayor-elect for Sept-Îles. And you might remember I mentioned one of the big issues in Sept-Îles, those tariffs, obviously the aluminum plants there, but he worked for Rio Tinto IOC for 18 years as a manager, and says he wants to make sure that Sept-Îles is not just an industrial city, but a city that people want to move to, want to raise their kids there. So Benoit Méteau, the mayor-elect in Sept-Îles.
Right, Sean.
And we've got a couple of races on the south shore of Montreal to tell you about in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. We'll start there. Éric Latour winning that election according to the CBC Radio Canada decision desk, projecting he has won the mayoralty there. So that is in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. St. Hyacinthe, we have a vote there, an election there as well. There it's the incumbent André Beauregard, who according to the CBC Radio Canada decision desk, we are projecting André Beauregard the winner in that city as well. And we do have just some other results coming in here. We're keeping an eye, by the way, still on Saguenay and on Gatineau. Those races still too close to call. We can tell you in Bécancour right now, this one just coming in, the CBC Radio Canada decision desk projecting that Pascal Blondin is going to win that election in Bécancour. As I said, it's interesting to watch, first of all, in Saguenay, about 15% of the vote is in so far, and André Laforêt, the former municipal affairs minister, still has a fairly comfortable lead, about 53% or so against her closest opponent, the incumbent mayor there, Julie Dufour, running fourth still at this point, distant behind the other candidates at this point. And over in Gatineau, it's a fairly close race as well, so we're going to keep watching that one through the evening.
All right. Simon, we'll come back to you because, we talked a lot about the composition of council. So we don't know what that's going to look like yet, but it does, by the looks of it, look like Ensemble Montréal is going to do quite well tonight as well.
Yeah, and we're looking at just some of those borough mayor seats, which... Or districts, which are pretty interesting. We've got right now in Huntsic-Cartierville, it looks like Maude Théroux-Séguin is continuing to maintain that lead over Émilie Thuillier. So that would be a flip for sure there for Ensemble Montréal. Côte-des-Neiges NDG starting to get pretty wide, the spread there right now. Stephanie Valenzuela, she's got about 53.5% of the vote with Gracia Kasoki-Katawa at just under 30 pretty much. So there's a pretty significant number there. Merci Hochelaga Maisonneuve, Chantal Gagnon of Ensemble Montréal out ahead, 47.3% of the vote versus 29.9% for Alia Saint-Cournal, pardon me. So, those are some of the ones we were watching to see if those big boroughs and those boroughs that have traditionally been projet over the last little while. Of course, Merci Hochelaga Maisonneuve was Réal Ménard's former stomping grounds as well. So
for a while.
So there is some history there, and but those are the ones they needed to win back if they're hoping
to hold on to Ensemble Montréal. Those are the ones they needed to win back to hold on to power. So
and
power.
And then we're getting a few results as well now. From the on-island suburbs. So in Beaconsfield, we've got Martin Saint-Jean. He is maintaining his lead. He's got about 1,300 votes versus Gregory Orlesky's at 900. We are getting some very, very, very early results from Westmount. Finally, so we've got Michael Stern. He's got 143 votes. Lynn Casgrain 126, and Mary Gallery at 98. So that is shaping up to be a pretty tight one. Another one that we've got that is looking to be very tight as well is Point Claire. John Belvedere, he's got 1,158 votes. Tim Thomas, 1,067. So just, basically 90 some votes there.
Yeah. And we can't forget the third candidate, because there's a third candidate there. His name is Brett Cowan.
Yeah, exactly. And Brent Cowan, he's not doing badly at all. He's got 871 votes. So, and, still with 11 polls, there is room to move there. So there's definitely some early returns, but it's looking like it's going to be kind of a tight race there. So those are some of the ones that we're tracking, the on-island suburbs.
All right. Thank you, Simon. Allison, what are you looking at?
I'm looking right now at actually Chandler out in the Gaspésie region, a small community, 7,500 people. Gilles Darèche looking for a second mandate there, but Dominique Giroux also running for mayor this time around. She was a municipal councillor there, but there was a lot of tension in Chandler because of a demerger situation that never really went over very well, and that is still sort of playing out in this election. So quite a lot of tension there. But right now we're seeing Gilles Darèche in the lead right now. He's at 1,100, just over 1,100 votes for Dominique Giroux's 487.
All right. Sean?
I wanted to head back to, actually, no, before I head back to Saguenay, why don't we recap some of the major municipalities who we've gotten calls for, in case people are tuning in at this point in the evening, wondering how things have turned out in their area. So it's been, as we've been saying all night long, a pretty good night for incumbents tonight, especially in the big cities. So, of course, Montreal, we just mentioned, in that case, not a good night for the incumbent party, at least. So, yes, that was Soraya Martinez-Ferrada winning there. But in the other municipalities, so on the South Shore, in Longueuil, Catherine Fournier won that race this evening. This is all projections from the CBC Radio-Canada decision desk, by the way, so don't repeat it over and over and over again. In Brassard, it was Doreen Assad coming to victory there. In Laval, it was Mr. Boyer, Sébastien Boyer, winning there. I want to talk about Saguenay, though, because now it's an interesting race. We've got about 35% of the vote in. Too early to call yet, but we can tell you it's also been a pretty good night for former cabinet ministers so far running for office. Soraya Martinez-Ferrada, of course, a former cabinet minister. Marie-Claude Bibeau in Sherbrooke, former federal cabinet minister as well. Stephen Blaney in Lévis, former federal cabinet minister. So the one we're really watching right now, and not as good a night for Sam Hamad, the former transport minister. He was defeated in Quebec City there. But we are still watching André Laforêt. She continues to lead in Saguenay, the former municipal affairs minister. Right now, again, 35% of the vote so far, but she's got 55% of the vote right now, ahead of her nearest opponent, businessman Luc Boivin, who has about 35% of the vote there now. So the votes still coming in. And again, once again, there's another one where it's not been a good night for the incumbent so far, Julie Dufour, who is trailing far behind. She's in fourth place with only about 1.9% of the vote right now, with 35% of the vote in. So continuing to watch Saguenay, and we're watching for the latest numbers in Gatineau as well.
All right. Thank you. Let's head to Justine McIntyre, who is back with us. A call has been made. Soraya Martinez-Ferrada of Ensemble Montréal Maire elect. Your reactions?
Are we surprised? Okay. Reaction is, I think this was expected. We saw the numbers in the polls. I think just realistically speaking, she was the stronger candidate in terms of polling. She had a very strong campaign, Sean, as well. We noticed that as the weeks went by, the number of press releases coming out, the announcements she made, very organized, very disciplined campaign team. She herself is a strong campaigner, and she campaigned all the way through to the end. I mean, even in the last week, she was still campaigning. So it was strong campaign start to finish. I'm not surprised that she has won or is projected to win at this point. I think they've called it that she's won. And what is perhaps a little bit surprising is the number of candidates from her team that look like they're going to win. So it's looking like she's going to have a majority in council, a strong majority in council, which is going to be a different situation than we've seen for a long time at the City of Montreal, because even back when Denis Coderre was mayor, he had to negotiate with Coalition Montréal in order to have their support when it came time to vote.
And he gradually, if you remember, picked a few of them over, and a few of them crossed the floor. Richard Bergeron from Projet Montréal joined as well. So it slowly he built a majority. And of course, when he lost, so did they. So
exactly.
Right?
But it often depends on these kinds of negotiations. And if the numbers are lining up or end up turning out the way they're lining up right now, it looks like she won't need to do that. She'll be in a very strong position in terms of the composition, the makeup of City Council.
In terms of Projet Montréal, where do they go next? I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of soul searching. There's going to be a lot of what happened. And maybe I'll ask you this flat out, because of course they had their leadership race in March. Luc Rabouin won. Gracia Kasoki-Katawa came in second. Do you think the party will start to look at, in hindsight, did they play it too safe, for example, with a candidate like Luc Rabouin?
I do think there will be a lot of soul searching. I think they were looking for somebody who was different from Valérie Plante in that investiture. The investiture itself felt a little bit like an election to me. There was a lot of confidence at that time in the party, and the feeling was that whoever wins this investiture is going to be the next mayor of Montreal. It felt like it was the natural next step. And we've seen that the wind has slowly come out of their sails, and Luc Rabouin now is, I think think he's going to have to also, there'll be some questions as to his leadership, whether he'll stay and take advantage of his position of co-running mate in order to have a seat on council, or if he might decide to turn the page. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of questions going forward for Projet Montréal. Parties take a long time to build, but they take a lot less time to shut down. So, we'll see where the party goes from here. I mean, certainly they'll still have a number of people elected. They're still a viable party at this point.
Right.
But the discussion is going to be about what are the next steps? How do they get on a path back to growth?
Yeah, let's go back to Ensemble Montréal. A good night for them, and Soraya Martinez-Ferrada will have lots of people to pick from to form her executive committee.
Absolutely. So there are some long-time city councillors in her team and some long-time mayors. I mean, just thinking of Alan de Souza, the team in Saint-Laurent, the team in Pierrefonds. She's got a lot of people with a lot of experience on that team and a few new people coming in too. So I'll be interested to see who ends up in her executive committee, if she's going to be...
Claude Pinard, if he wins in Saint-Jacques. That'll be that we already know that one checked off, and we were talking about who's going to be the chair of the board of directors of the STM. Well, first of all, will they actually have a city councillor do it, or will they have someone from the outside do it? Because there was a tradition for a while, I guess, in the Coder administration. It was somebody from the outside. It was a former candidate, actually, a former Canada, a journalist, Philippe Schnapp, who was chair of the board of directors of the STM for a while. But then when Projet Montréal, when he left, and he was replaced by Eric Allen Caldwell.
Craig Sauvé, briefly, and then it went to Eric Allen Caldwell. Yeah,
that's right. So we'll see if Ensemble Montréal follows that tradition by appointing a sitting councillor as a chair of the board of directors of the STM, or hires or get someone else to do it. Also, homelessness. That is something that they're really going to have to have. Their point person is, we have many guesses, and she'll decide. But
it's been Benoit Langevin up until now. He has been the voice on that issue from his seat in the opposition.
Right.
So I expect that he would probably be the person that she would name to be in charge of that file. But again, I'm actually thinking that with Claude Pinard's background, if he wins his election, which is looking close, but she might actually give him that dossier as well to go along with his duties as president of the executive committee.
All right, Justine, stay there. We're going to go right now to Laval and say good evening and congratulations to Stéphane Boyer. CBC Radio-Canada Decision Desk has projected that Stéphane Boyer will be re-elected as mayor of Laval. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you feeling?
I'm very glad, very happy. We did a good, positive campaign. We focused on the thing that makes people proud in Laval. We don't, our city is not the city that has the best history, but there's great things coming and happening in our city, and we focus on that. And I'm very glad to see that I'm not the only one to be proud of Laval.
What did you hear from people at the door?
I think it's one of the things that I heard a lot is the need of better access to health and education and public transit. And one of the things that I want to do actually in 2026 is to, with the provincial election coming up, I want to really work to have more investment from the provincial government. And, that's easy to say. Everybody says that. But when you look at the investment the provincial government does per region in Quebec, Laval is the region that has the less investment on almost everything. There's 3 to 4 times more money going on the island of Montreal for education, for public transit, and for health than here in Laval. So I want to fight for my citizens, and I want to make their needs heard in Quebec.
Then, some people will remember that you weren't shy to call that out during a news conference. There was a provincial news conference where they were announcing funding, and you actually called out saying, you know what, we're getting less than Montreal's getting.
Yeah, that happened when there was a lot of problems with security issues at the beginning of my mandate. Right before the election, the provincial election, the government of Quebec gave $250 million to the city of Montreal, and we have the same security issues in Laval. So I said, hey, you got to be fair. You can't just give so much money to Montreal and not to Laval. we have needs. And at the end of the day, they gave us a little bit of money, but 3 times less. So, in the middle of the press conference, I said, thank you, but that's not enough. The life of Lavaleurs are not worth less than the life of Montrealers. And I think that's, something I want to make sure that every provincial party that will be running in 2026 will finally, treat our citizens as equal as any citizens of other regions in Quebec.
Mr. Boyer, during the campaign, you made a couple of announcements, or at least one anyway, announcement with Catherine Fournier, who was also reelected tonight as mayor of Longueuil. What's that partnership going to look like over the next 4 years?
It's, I think cities, we all have the same services to deliver to our citizens. We all have similar challenges, and we will be stronger if we work together. There are things that can be put forward that will be able to help us reduce our costs. So I want to work with Catherine, but also with other mayors. In 2021, when I ran the first time, with Catherine, we decided to launch a summit on housing at the time where housing was not called a crisis. But we already started, her and me, seeing the effect on our surrounding, on our friends of the rapid rising cost of living. So we've always worked well together, and I think our citizens will beneficiate if we have this collaborative approach. So I'm really looking forward on working with Catherine, but also with all the other mayors in Quebec, because we share the same challenges.
Right. Now, after sleeping and taking down campaign posters, what's your first order of business?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Boyer, after all that, what's your first order of business?
Well, what I want to focus this mandate is to invest more on the essential things, which are a better maintenance of our roads, better snow clearing, and to protect our citizens from floods. A lot of our streets in Laval were built in the 60s and the 70s, and now they are in much need of love. So we want to invest more on the maintenance of our infrastructure. That will be the first, it will be the priority for the next 4 years. But I think the advantage that citizens have is that they have somebody that won't need 100 days to start, maybe only one week or two.
Yes,
and we'll be ready to start those new investments.
One week or two, just to sleep for a little bit.
Yeah, well, I won't get much sleep because we still have to do the budget before Christmas time, and there's much to do.
All right, we will talk again soon. Stéphane Boyer, thanks again and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That is Stéphane Boyer, re-elected mayor of Laval tonight. I'm just peeking really quickly at council makeup at Laval City Council, and it looks like quite a few members of his team, Mouvement Lavallois, will also be going to council with him for the next 4 years. Simon, let's head to you for more results.
Yeah, in Montreal here, we're starting to see some of what Justine was talking about there with Ensemble Montréal in control in the mayor's chair there in 11 borough mayor spots now. So we've got Ahuntsic-Cartierville, Côte-des-Neiges, NDG, Lachine, Hochelaga, Merci Hochelaga, Maisonneuve, Pierrefonds, Roxborough, RDP, Pointe-aux-Trembles, Saint-Laurent, Saint-Léonard, Verdun, Montreal North, and Outremont. So those are all right now, and in different stages. Those are all in the Ensemble Montréal column, and Projet is holding on to its strongholds, of course, in the Plateau, in Rosemont, in Villeray, Parc Extension Saint-Michel, and Sud-Ouest as well, and L'Île Bizarre. So that one is a bit of a surprise. That's the one that is the flip. But if you look at those main sort of central boroughs where Projet Montréal has been very strong, they are holding on to those boroughs. And the vote has perhaps dipped a little bit. If you look at, for example, Kathy Wong running in the Plateau, which is really, that is their stronghold of strongholds.
Yes.
She's running down in terms of the percentage as compared to 2021. She's at about 57% of the vote.
Right, and they're usually high, you know, they're usually high 60s, close
75
to 70.
last time.
Yeah.
So that was Luc Rabouin, of course.
Right.
But still, I mean, I don't think there's any danger that they are not going to keep that mayoral seat.
Having said that, there was a lot of dissatisfaction in Le Plateau Mont-Royal over the last 4 years. And two places I'm thinking of right away is Milton Park. The situation with homelessness and cohabitation and the ongoing issue of dealing with homelessness specifically in that sector, to the point where there was a separate ombudsman's report about it, and they called it a human crisis, and they had been following and seeing whether things had improved or not. Things had been put in place, but the general sense of improvement not really there, to the point where some residents are seeking legal action against the city of Montreal and a couple of organizations. And the other thing that stood out about the Plateau Mont-Royal, where there was dissatisfaction, was the whole La Tulipe story. Now, there was a development this weekend where a Superior Court judge lifted an injunction, and then, you know, La Tulipe can make noise again, but, you know, there was a permit that was mistakenly given to a building owner. It was a commercial building. They were mistakenly given a permit to develop residential, and then there's this whole again, we've been throwing around the word cohabitation, but
a word
we try to avoid it sometimes, but sometimes, like, you know, for lack of a better term, and
it's
always like 1028, I'm just going to say cohabitation.
That's right, absolutely.
Vivre ensemble.
Vivre
How about
ensemble.
that? Let's vivre ensemble. And that whole issue of, like, you know, agent of change, like who was there first,
Absolutely.
and, you know, and who has to adapt. And so you had all of that, and I know there was good news on the front for La Tulipe, and the borough of Le Plateau Mont-Royal and Ville-Marie changed some bylaws. Clearly, too late for Projet Montréal, and when you're talking about the city race anyway.
Yeah, and I know that there was some dissatisfaction with when that draft bylaw was coming out, and some of the fine levels that were being floated there, which ultimately, you know, I think it has been something that has been, especially along Saint Laurent, some very iconic venues have closed over the years, and I think that a lot of the cultural sector there was feeling to a certain degree that you know, if La Tulipe could fall, venerable La Tulipe, what chance did a small venue have, you know, something that is looking at very large fines?
Yeah, because the fines were quite steep, right?
Yeah, it could. I think they were starting at 10,000 or something. But just in general, the legal. I think there was also just the legal cost of having to try to meet these criteria, and then also, you know, some of it, in fairness, was related to liquor laws, and there were multiple sort of jurisdictions involved in some of these issues. But there was a perception, I think, on that issue, as you rightly pointed out, that that there was a certain amount of crisis in terms of preserving these cultural venues in a borough that certainly the property values have gone very, very high, and there has been, you know, a great deal of development in that borough.
Right. The next council, not just with Plateau Mont-Royal, but the next council as a whole, is going to really have to figure out this whole idea of vivre ensemble. And I know that the previous administration put out a bylaw, a policy with regards to nightlife, and never really solved the issue of, you know, how do you, the agent of change principle that they didn't really put into a bylaw and make it a thing. But the next administration is going to have to deal with that. I think of Quartier des Spectacles right away. I've had different councillors on. I've had different people, different actors from different sectors on, and I've always asked the question, you know, that big building in Quartier des Spectacles that's being built right now, that's right in front of places where there's the Jazz Festival, where there's Nuit d'Afrique, Francophonie. Whose responsibility is it to tell them that you moved to Quartier des Spectacles and you have to expect a certain amount of noise, and nobody has an answer?
Yeah, and I know that this, I mean, it's going to be interesting when we start to analyze what are the reasons in different boroughs. Again, I think in Projet Montréal, they will, or in Plateau Montréal, Projet Montréal will hold on to it, even if their votes dipped a bit. But it will be interesting to know if there is, I mean, there have been times where, you know, not just Projet Montréal in Montreal, but other cities, other mayors have said, you know, our hands are tied because of this particular provincial regulation, or we are not getting much play from the province or the feds on this particular issue or this particular. And at a certain point, I think that there is a point where those arguments sort of start to sound similar, and people are maybe a little bit skeptical and say, well, it's your inspectors that are coming and looking at my noise levels with the decibel meter or whatever, and I don't want to have to shut my doors. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how another administration takes that on, because now it will become their issue.
It is their issue, and it's something that has to be dealt with quickly. Thank you, Simon. Let us head to Quebec City and talk to Bruno Marchand, re-elected mayor of Quebec City tonight. Mr. Marchand, good evening. Bruno Marchand, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Do you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a good evening. It's well over what we were expecting.
Yeah. Tell me what you think worked this time, this cycle.
I think citizens of Quebec were bored about the fact that some people were always complaining. Some people were always looking backward. I think citizens of Quebec have said something tonight is we're looking for a positive vision. We're looking to look forward. We're looking to embrace hope, to embrace, I would say, a vision of the future, to work with the youth people. They're the one that's gonna live way much longer with our decision than us. So I think citizens of Quebec embrace the fact that our city is beautiful. Our city has a lot of challenges, of course. It's not perfect, but they embrace the fact that as a group, as a whole, we're able, if we have a positive vision, if we're able to gather, we're able to find solutions to our challenges.
Let's talk about some of those challenges. Homelessness in specific sectors of the city. How will you tackle that going forward?
I think, first of all, we need to have ambitious goals. It's been 4 years now since I'm preaching all over Quebec that we need goals. We need to tackle homelessness. We need not only to close our arms and say, it's so tough, it's a difficult social issue, we can't do anything because it's getting worse and worse. I would say, I would like us as a nation to have vision, to have goals, to have ambitious goals, in order to say we need to look forward to reach that zero mark. We need to take care of homeless people. We need to say to them, there is solution. We're going to take care of the situation you're in. We need as a nation to be ambitious. So that this is the first step in order to reach that zero level. The second step is to have data. We don't have data. We have data over every 4 years or 5 years. We need to have data every year. And also, we need to build, I would say, apartment where homeless people will be able to live, will be able to be with social workers in order to take care of them and make them, I would say, live in a place where they're going to be able to take care of themselves and get back in the path of being a citizen, whatever it means for them, and get back in the path to be a human where your life is not threatened every night when you sleep in the street.
I'm wondering what your relationship, or what you think your relationship will be like with the Quebec government going forward.
I think it will be good. We have made a lot of, I would say, comments about the fact that I was totally frank about the fact that when it was not going the way of the citizen of Quebec wanted, that I did speak out loud what I was thinking to defend my citizen, my city. But in a lot of topics, in a lot of aspects, it went well. With a lot of ministers of the CAQ, it went very well. We did a lot of great jobs in many topics, and we're going to need to work a lot. I'm pretty close to M. Julien, to M. Simard, to Mme Duranceau, to a lot of ministers, Mme Bélanger, to Mme Proulx, to Mme Charest, to a lot of ministers, to M. Girard, to a lot of ministers, and we're able to work with them for the next year to make them, I would say, work together with us in order to, I would say, enhance our life quality here in Quebec. And if we don't work together, we won't reach any objective at all.
Hello, Mayor Marchand, and congratulations on your win. I have a question for you about just the opposition and the tramway project, because the opposition did, throughout this campaign, try to paint you as the mayor of the downtown districts and only, and accuse you of ignoring the needs of residents in the growing suburbs. If we look at the results, you seem to have won a lot more support in the suburban areas. What's your sense of why that is? What happened, and what were your conversations with people who were living out further out of town?
I think we make a big deal of, I would say, the north and the south of the city, the suburbs and the center of the city. And I think that fracture is not that big anymore. I think a lot of people have seen in the last 4 years that we invested a lot in neighborhood in the north, in the west, in the east, not only in the center of the town. I think people understood that we're able to present a vision for everyone. Wherever you live up northwest or wherever you live downtown, we're going to build a city for you, for your family. We're going to build a city that's going to make your life easier, that's going to make a better quality of life. I think a lot of people understood that we were there for a lot of citizens and not only for the one who voted for us.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for speaking with us. I'm sure we'll be speaking with you again. Merci.
I hope so. Have a good evening.
Yes. You too. You too, and congratulations. That is Bruno Marchand, re-elected mayor of Quebec City tonight. Sean Lyons, we haven't heard from you in a bit. We've been talking to everybody. But
so lonely over here.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What do you have for us right now?
I'm continuing to flip back and forth between Saguenay and Gatineau of all the major cities in the province, the big cities. Those are the two that have not been called. Just a real quick correction, not a major correction, nothing material, but I was mentioning just as far as the percentage of polls that have come in, I flipped them around. I said that Saguenay had counted more than Gatineau. It was actually the other way around. Gatineau's counted more than Saguenay. No material difference on the actual results so far, but just out of transparency to let you know that. But in Saguenay right now, we're still watching quite the race that continues there. We've got about 25% of the polls have been counted there in Saguenay, and still André Laforêt, the former cabinet minister, provincial cabinet minister, ahead 53% over 37.6% for her nearest opponent, Luc Boivin, right now. Once again, the incumbent mayor, Julie Dufour, well behind, only 2% of the vote right now for the incumbent mayor in Saguenay. Over in Gatineau, quite the race shaping up there. It's pretty tight so far, and has been all night long. As a matter of fact, every time I go back, Sean, it keeps tightening up a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. To give you an idea, with about 47% right now, 48% of the polls in, the difference between the two right now, the margin is 1.1%. Right now, in the lead is Mario Aubé with 49.6% over the incumbent mayor, Maude Marquis Bissonnette, who's got 48.5%. Wow. A little while ago, not that long ago, maybe 20 minutes ago when I checked in, the difference was about 4.4%. So it just kind of tightens and tightens and tightens. But we're still not quite at 50% of the votes counted there, the polls in Gatineau.
And the reason I was saying wow, Sean, is because Maude Marquis Bissonnette, as we know, ran in 2021 against France Delisle. France Delisle won that election. As we know, France Delisle stepped down. Maude Marquis Bissonnette won in a by-election. So now she's running for a full council term. So it's been a lot of back and forth for her, and she actually said, she was interviewed by Radio Canada. She said, you know what, I'm just going to take it in stride. I'm not looking at polls. I'm just looking. The only result that counts is election. So that's my wow. My wow is the fact that it's tight. It's
very
back and forth.
Race.
It's not certain quite yet for her, or we don't know which one of the two will become mayor of Gatineau, but we're still looking at the results.
And I just want to update one other race, and this is an interesting one because it's not one of the ones being followed by our decision desk tonight. But it is important to our listeners that in Rawdon tonight, the mayor of Rawdon, Raymond Rougeau, of course, the former wrestler who's been a mayor there for some time. He has 60% of the vote, more or less. Now, we're not calling that race, but we can tell you that 100% of the polls are counted. It's going to be up to Elections Quebec to make the final call there, but there's just an update on Rawdon in our listening area.
Okay, thank you. Simon, what do you have for us?
Well, some interesting numbers coming out of Côte-des-Neiges, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce. Just as we were talking about pretty deep lead there for Stephanie Valenzuela. She is leading the borough mayor's position, 52.8% versus 29% for Gracia Kasoki-Katawa. But also interesting, a very tight race shaping up in Côte-des-Neiges, and that is Projet Montréal territory, and they are still leading. They are leading with 40.9%, but the Ensemble Montréal candidate there is at 40.1%. So we're talking about 22 votes or something like that is separating those two. So that would be a flip if Ensemble was able to pull that one off. Still, Projet in the lead there. And then, of course, even Loyola, which we were talking about earlier, could be interesting as well. That one is going Ensemble Montréal's way. So Alexandre Terdesco, he's at 40.9% versus Despina Sorayas at 25.6. So, and there's some vote splitting going on there as well, or I don't know about vote splitting, but there's a pretty big field there because there's some other candidates. Alex Montagano, right? Sorry, pardon me, and Renata Betts.
Yeah.
So there's some interesting stuff happening in that borough as well, and then we're seeing, similarly in boroughs like Hansek-Cartierville, we are still seeing Ensemble Montréal leading there in the borough mayor's race.
Right, and I'm looking at some of these some of these boroughs, looking at some of these districts. I'm matching some of our results to what's on Election Montreal's website, and I'm looking at the council makeup because we're always interested in that.
Absolutely.
And it looks like there are several boroughs where there will be. As it stands right now, we'll wait for the fans' final results. But as it stands right now, it looks like in different boroughs, the Ensemble will have majorities, and in some cases, there will be one lone Projet councillor on council. So far, that's looking like that's the case in Mercier, Hochelaga, Maisonneuve. Sarah Doyon ahead in the Hochelaga district, and the only Projet candidate who is leading.
Yes, and given that, of course, there is no Ensemble Montréal candidate in that particular district as well. So one thing I do want to just update, because we haven't really spoken about it, is Anjou, of course. The Équipe Anjou under Luis Miranda, he is winning that contest pretty handily right now. He's got just over 2/3 of the vote there, and then also the other borough that typically does not. Well, I mean, again, Ensemble Montréal did not run a slate of candidates in LaSalle, so Équipe LaSalle is winning there. Nancy Blanchet, she's at about 67% of the vote there.
Right, and that's an interesting. LaSalle's an interesting borough for a number of reasons because it's essentially. I guess in many ways is a borough, one of the 19 boroughs on the island of Montreal, but has sort of acted like a demerged city and has been allowed to function in many ways like a demerged city for quite a long time, actually.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at, I mean, the slate, the Équipe LaSalle slate is winning across the board there.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, it's interesting that behaves in a way like more traditional some other cities that we see where they run a slate more so. I mean, it is a party, but at the same time, not a lot of variation there in that particular borough. And, they have, again, Ensemble Montréal decided not to run candidates there. So we'll see how that plays out on council, whether that will be effectively yes votes for their legislation or if they will, pick and choose.
And, you remember you were talking about long ballots in LaSalle?
Yeah.
First of all, I grew up in LaSalle, so hello. I live in Mercier, but a LaSalle boy forever. But anyway, going back to LaSalle, that long ballot, because I went to see mom and dad earlier today, and the envelope was there, and it was, so you're voting for the mayor of Montreal, you're voting for borough mayor, you're voting for a city councillor, and two borough council seats per district. So that's a ballot. That's
a lot of A lot of choice there, and I mean, it is something that is interesting in general about Montreal. Is unlike a lot of many other major cities, Toronto, for example.
Yeah,
there are many more representatives given the population. If you're talking about per capita.
Yeah.
So that is part of the system that exists, and it means that there are a lot of interesting races.
Yeah, definitely some interesting races, and I've all that group of people that I mentioned, 3 of them will be at Montreal City Council. So those are 3 votes at Montreal City Council, and the rest of them are city borough council meetings.
Exactly. Yeah, and then there's some boroughs, that effectively have one. Outremont, for example, at City Council, the borough mayor. So that's another feature of the Montreal.
You have also another one that has it's just the mayor. That sits at council downtown, and the rest of them are borough mayors. So.
So that goes into all the math that we're going to have to do here.
And are you all taking notes, because you'll be tested on the material later?
This isn't it already?
We're going to be speaking about it all week.
Allison, what are you looking at right now?
I have been watching the election results pouring in for Val d'Or, where there is a really tight race, actually, between Serge Allard and Benjamin Turcotte. Neck and neck, really. We're looking at 25% of the polling stations, so still quite a lot of votes to be counted. But, I mean, to give you an idea, Sean, Serge Allard at 2,993 votes. Behind him, Benjamin Turcotte, 2,920. So a really tight race there. Serge Allard, this isn't the first time he has run for politics, although not at the municipal level. He was an ADQ candidate for the provincial election back in 2003. But he's talking about, his whole campaign has been about building the future of Val d'Or. He says people come and they go, people come in for work, but he said the housing crisis there is pretty bad, and so there isn't really a way for people to stay. He's an associate with Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton, and he's been part of many different organizations across Val d'Or, and nipping at his heels, Benjamin Turcotte, who he has been a city councillor in the past mandate. He's also a teacher at the local cégep there, a literature teacher. He has focused a lot of his campaign as well on the housing crisis and the homelessness. So kind of talking about similar things there. So it'll be interesting to see who
there's
comes
some
out
common
on top.
themes in different municipalities, and I know for a while, like different municipalities, Longueuil, Laval, Granby, Quebec City, Montreal, of course, to name a few, they banded together at one point and sort of like waved their hand at the provincial government and said, we need more money, we need more resources, we're dealing with stuff that's typically in your jurisdiction, help. And, there's been a lot of back and forth on different files between municipal governments and provincial governments dealing with homelessness and housing being one of them, transit being the other one as well. So
I was at a UMQ meeting, I think it was a couple of years ago, here in Montreal, where they met, and André Laforêt was the municipal affairs minister. She got a pretty rough ride. That was after she had made some comments about, cities having to manage their finances. Got a pretty rough ride there, and now she's going to be on the other side of that, potentially.
Potentially, yeah. And I wonder what that conversation will be like with
Geneviève Guilbeault.
The person who took over her file, the person who took over her file is Sonia Bélanger, I believe, housing. Right now, we are going to go to Projet Montréal headquarters, and we're going to hear from Projet Montréal leader Luc Rabouin. Let's listen.
Chers amis,
dear friends,
c'est une dure soirée pour nous quand même.
This has been a tough night for us.
Il y a des milliers de
This
citoyennes et
tonight,
des citoyens qui ont voté pour
thousands
bâtir
of
une ville plus juste, plus
residents
belle,
voted
verte,
to try to
avec
build
Projet
a
Montréal.
more just, nicer, greener city with Projet Montréal.
Malheureusement, ça n'a pas été suffisant pour
Unfortunately,
gagner.
it wasn't enough to win,
La responsabilité
and I take my
de cette
full
défaite.
responsibility for the responsibility of this loss.
J'ai donné tout ce que j'avais.
I
mais ça n'a
gave
pas
all that I had, but it
Je
wasn't
veux,
enough.
remercier
I want to thank, this evening, my first thanks go to you who are here in this room, to all the volunteers, the supporters who joined us, joined our candidates. You went door to door, who called people on the phone, who today called them again to remind them they had to get out to vote.
Merci du fond du cœur.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Je veux remercier notre équipe
I
exceptionnelle
want to thank our great team of candidates who supported me.
On avait toute une équipe
We
extraordinaire
had a great team, an extraordinary
qui
team,
m'a appuyé tout au long de la campagne, une équipe
who
qui a
supported
travaillé
me all the way through this
d'arrache-pied sur
campaign,
le
a
terrain
team who worked non-stop on the ground every single day. Thank you all for this battle.
Je veux remercier aussi mon équipe
I want
de
to also
campagne
thank
qui sont ici.
my
Une
campaign team
gang
who are here,
extraordinaire de
an
jeunes hommes et de
extraordinary
jeunes
gang
femmes
of
dévoués,
young men and women,
intelligents, engagés.
devoted,
Votre
intelligent,
énergie,
engaged.
votre passion,
Your
et surtout
energy, your
votre
passion,
confiance, votre
and most
dévouement,
importantly, your
c'est ça qui m'a
confidence,
donné la
your
force
devotion.
de me rendre
That is what
jusqu'au
gave
bout
me
et
the
qui nous a
strength
permis
to
d'avoir
get
des
to go
résultats
all the way to the
honorables
end, and
ce soir.
who allowed us to have this honorable result this evening.
Toute cette mobilisation nous a permis, comme je le disais, d'avoir des
This
résultats honorables. Ce
mobilization
soir,
allowed
face
us to
à
have
un
this
vent de
honorable
changement
result
qui soufflait
against a
très
wind
fort.
of change that was blowing
Vous me
very strong.
permettrez aussi de dire un merci
You
tout
will allow
spécial
me as well to provide handed a special thanks
à ma conjointe, mon amour, Yael,
to my partner, my love,
à mes enfants, Lia et Alexis,
my children.
Je vous remercie et
I
je vous aime
thank you.
plus que tout au monde.
I love you more than anything in the world.
Je tiens à féliciter ce soir tous les candidats, les candidates
I
de
want to
tous les partis
congratulate all the
politiques confondus.
candidates from all of the political parties. This was a long, intense campaign,
Ça
like
prend
they
du
all are.
courage, mais ça prend aussi de
It
l'humilité
takes
pour faire de la
courage,
politique.
but it also takes
Pour mettre sa
humility
face
to
sur
get
une
into
pancarte.
politics, to put your face up on a poster,
Pour défendre publiquement
to
à chaque
defend
jour
publicly
sa vision,
every
ses
day
idées,
your
ses
vision,
propositions.
your
Et
ideas,
ça, je
your
le salue.
proposals. And I thank everyone.
Il y a des gens ce soir
There
dans
are people
toutes les
tonight
équipes, dans la nôtre,
in all these teams, including ours,
mais il y en a
who
d'autres
are
qui
celebrating their
pleurent.
victories. There are also those who are mourning their defeat.
C'est souvent crève-cœur.
Politics is hard.
Mais au final,
It can often be a heartbreaker, but in the end, the population are the ones who vote. That is democracy.
je veux féliciter Soraya
I want
Martinez
to
Ferrada.
congratulate Soraya Martinez Ferrada for her victory. I called her. Even if we do not share the same vision for the city, I recognize her victory is historic for the Latino community and for all Montrealers.
Je veux dire un mot à toutes celles et ceux qui
I
ont
want
été
to
élus.
say something to everyone who was elected tonight from all of the political parties. We live through, there's so much injustice, so much more injustice. Equality is growing, and the causes are just too much for us, but the effects are felt on the streets of Montreal every day. The daily emergencies that we go through hit hard. We need more and more to meet crises, for example, housing and homelessness. Beyond just these social crises, we have the responsibility, the collective responsibility to prepare for the future for our children. We have to build a city for the people who live here now, but for those who are going to live here in the future. We have to.
J'aurais aimé ça, moi, faire ce travail avec vous.
I would like to
faire face.
have been the one to do this work with you, to face up to these crises, to prepare for the future, but
Mais la
An audience
population
member
a
says we
décidé
want that too.
autrement.
Rabouin says, but the population decided another way. So, in conclusion, I am telling you that I am not going to ask my colistier to hand over her chair to be official opposition leader. In the next few days, I'm going to step aside as leader of Projet Montréal. I am immensely to acknowledge the privilege I've had to represent the citizens of Plateau Montréal for 6 years, take on major responsibilities on the executive committee at City Hall. I want to thank Valérie Plante, who had confidence in me to take over those roles.
Aujourd'hui, moi, je crois encore dans notre parti politique et je crois.
I still believe in our political party.
Je crois dans notre parti politique et je crois que notre parti
in our political party, and I believe that our party, which is a citizens' movement, has a great opportunity to get its stride back and to rethink things. I leave tonight feeling that our movement is a real political force and that the next group through is ready to take over, to take the baton.
Il y a beaucoup de talent à Projet Montréal.
There's so much talent at Projet Montréal, and that is what gives me great confidence in the future. Thank you, everyone.
That is Projet Montréal leader Luc Rabouin giving his concession speech, and as you heard, he is leaving his role of a leader of Projet Montréal in the next few days. I guess the next question now for Projet Montréal is, who will take over? And that's always a question whenever a party leader leaves. Who will take over? What is the next steps? Some of the people who ran in the last time doesn't look like they'll be reelected. Tonight, Erika Alnius, the exception in Rosemont La Petite Patrie, possibly. But anyway, too early
looks
for all
solid,
of that, but looks pretty solid for her. So the next question is, who takes over as leader of Projet Montréal? That bench is a lot smaller than it was last week.
Yeah, and, Projet Montréal, of course, a big breakthrough in 2017 with Valérie Plante. I was there at election night, I remember, Projet headquarters, and it was, to some degree, a surprise, I think, for even some Projet Montréal councillors, the extent of the victory, and then the repeated, really took that party into the mainstream, and, even tonight, there is going to still be a pretty strong contingent at City Hall under the Projet Montréal banner, and whether the replacement for Luc Rabouin will come from that contingent or whether it will come from outside. It's always a possibility.
And there was questions about that in the last time too, when Valérie Plante announced that she was not going to run for a third term, and the leadership race started. Of course, all the candidates internally were, all the journalists were asking them, "Will you? Won't you? Will you? Won't you?" But there were some questions as to whether that leader needed to come from the outside. And of course, all of the candidates were internal candidates, with Luc Rabouin, Gracia Kosoki-Katoa, Laurence Lavigne-Lalonde, Erika Alnius, and Goodwig Bernier, all candidates from the inside. And again, and I asked Justine, whether the party played it too safe by picking Luc Rabouin. She did say that they wanted to pick someone who was different from Valérie Plante, or a different approach from Valérie Plante, and and at the time it did seem like they did feel like, hey, we got this, and then campaigns matter. I think that's the takeaway from this. Campaigns matter. When you start the campaign matters too, because there are some questions with regards to Luc Rabouin. The summer he seemed quiet in the summer, whereas you saw a lot of Soraya Martinez-Frada making announcements already before the official kickoff of the campaign.
And an interesting note there as well with Luc Rabouin. He started off, "My slogan is no slogan," and then, not that long ago, he unveiled I want to be the mayor of the 514, not the 450, which again was a slogan. So it sort of made you wonder if perhaps he was going for a little bit more audacity there at the end to try to differentiate himself and be a little bit more, put a little bit more fire in the campaign. But at the same time, some very interesting policy proposals coming out of Projet Montréal again from Luc Rabouin made his mark on the party in terms of shifting it to a certain direction when it came to really tackling. He said, I want to be pragmatic. I want to be pragmatic.
They all said they want to be pragmatic.
Sure, it's the year of pragmatism.
At one point, Jean-François Cacou, who's the leader of Futur Montréal, it was like the third time that I heard someone say pragmatic, and he was sitting. I stopped him. I said, "Okay, what is that?" You've all said pragmatic. What does that mean? What do you mean when you say pragmatic? But I mean, again, it's not a bad thing to want to be pragmatic and want to do things, to do things the right way. Of course, Montreal has decided Soraya Martinez-Ferrada will be the next mayor of Montreal. By the looks of it, so far, it looks like Ensemble Montréal will have enough council seats to form a majority. And of course, from here on in, she's going to figure out who is going to be part of the executive committee. I'm not sure if you have any results for the Saint-Jacques district and where things stand with Claude Pinard, because we do know he will be the head of the executive committee if he wins that seat, but it's been a tight race all night.
Yep, got 9 votes. 9 vote difference between Claude Pinard and Robert Baudry, the incumbent. So, 40.9% versus 40.7%.
Yeah, you got to think that's going to go to a recount. If it stays like that, you got to think that it's just going to go to a recount. And I mean, again, still, we don't know the final result, and all of this will be, finalized by people who are specialized and, trained and paid to do that stuff. But if Robert Baudry wins Saint-Jacques and not Claude Pinard, then, Soraya Martinez-Ferrada, not that she doesn't have anybody else to pick from, but she would have to pick someone else to head up the executive committee.
Yeah, and in a race like this too, it is interesting to take a little bit of a look at the new party candidates, the newer party candidates, and how they perform. Because Sergio de Silva, he's got 9.4%, so about 429 votes, and Pierre Guido of Action Montréal, he's got 355. Mm-hmm. So, we've got probably a good 20% almost, or maybe not quite 20, but 18% going to other party candidates in what was looking to be a really close two-way race.
Simon, I'm going to stick with you for a bit. There's a couple of boroughs I want to go back to for a second. I want to go back to Verdun for a second. I know we didn't talk a lot about Verdun tonight, but I want to go back to Verdun for a second. The reason I want to go back to Verdun is because in 2021, Projet Montréal swept Verdun. They usually do well in the western sector of Verdun, and Ensemble Montréal did well in the eastern sector of Verdun, typically. But last cycle, they swept the entire borough. What's it looking like tonight?
Well, it is looking like a close race. It's looking like Projet Montréal is right now holding on to that borough mayor seat, although it is very close. We're talking about, do my math here, 64 votes there. So 4,900 for Céline Audry Beauregard, borough councillor, with in that borough, and then Geneviève Deshotels from Ensemble Montréal is at 4836. So, like I said, basically, all at this point, it's a matter of less than 100 votes. Transition Montréal, interesting. I know that maybe they were looking to make some gains there as well. A newer party, Christopher Steele, he's got about 14.2% of the vote. So it's outperforming the mayor's figure on that.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they were, I know they were planning to make some inroads, that's for sure. But I'm wondering if there's going to be a conversation also going forward about splitting the vote, because, I don't know if, we can do some math. It's not to say that everybody who voted for Transition Montréal would have voted for Projet Montréal, but let's if we were to do some math, you're looking at 44% of the vote between both parties.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows what Gilbert Thibodeau, who's got about 10% of the vote. I mean, that's over 30,000 votes right there for mayor. And that was
a question we were wondering to see how those parties would play, especially Action Montréal, because we were seeing and hearing more and more that people were paying attention to Action Montréal and what they were offering, and people were willing to give Gilbert Thibodeau a chance. We do know this, that Gilbert Thibodeau will be back in 2029.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember he ran in 2017 as well. I don't remember what his percentage was in there, but I actually remember interviewing him back in 2017 as part of a story on, sort of third-party candidates.
Yeah. Yeah, and and there's just another projection. We're going to go to some of the demerged cities. Martin Saint-Jean for Beaconsfield, so there's a win there. Peter Malouf also reelected in TMR, so this would be a second term as mayor for Peter Malouf, and lots to tackle there in TMR. Some of the conversations we've been having, at least here on Daybreak with Peter Malouf and residents of TMR, has been around traffic and the fact that some drivers use TMR to pass, they're just passing through. They're not. Yeah. They don't live in TMR. They're just passing through. They're using arteries like Lucerne and Rockland, and they're speeding through those arteries. And the residents showed up to council and gave council an earful and said, "We want solutions. We want answers. What are you going to do?" So that's something that he is going to have to deal with over the next 4 years. Continue to deal with over the next 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Sean.
All right, I've got some other Montreal suburbs to talk about. So we've got TMR and Beaconsfield, both called by our decision desk here. Some other races we are watching in the Montreal area. Let's start with Westmount. Numbers are coming in there slowly. We've got about 16% of the polls counted in Westmount. Right now, we can tell you that Michael Stern is ahead right now with 39.7% of the vote, ahead of Lynn Casgrain, who's in second right now with 34.1%. So that is Westmount. Continuing to watch there. Let's head on over to Pointe Claire now. There we've got John Belvedere, and I can tell you first, let's take a look at how many polls are in. 18% of the polls counted so far. John Belvedere is ahead right now with 40.9%, ahead of Tim Thomas, the incumbent there, at 33.1% as we continue there. And interesting race again out in Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue. This is another one of those races that is not being officially called by the CBC decision desk. We can tell you, though, with 100% of the polls now counted in Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue, that this is a victory for Michel Boudreau, pardon me, over Paula Howa tonight.
Oh, okay.
100% of those polls counted.
Yeah, Paula Howa, longtime mayor of Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue, looks like she's losing that seat tonight.
And the final count there was it was not close, but it also wasn't any sort of blowout. It was 56.3% for the winner there, Mr. Boudreau, against 43.7% for Paula Howa.
Okay, thank you. Allison?
And noticing that for Val d'Or, actually, we have Serge Allard, who has been... Serge Allard, we have seen, has been the CBC Radio-Canada decision desk has put him as the mayor-elect for Val d'Or. But interestingly, only 58 votes ahead of Benjamin Turcotte, who they've been at each other's heels all night. So it'll be interesting to see if that sticks. But Serge Allard, as I mentioned, who did run for the ADQ as a candidate in the provincial election back in 2003, looks like he will get his chance at politics. And just quickly in Chandler, we have Gilles Darèche, who has been re-elected mayor with 68.2% of the vote.
Can I please ask one of you three to look up Saint-Honoré de Témiscouata? I'd love to know.
So you can do it first here.
I'd love to know which Richard Dubé has won.
While we do that, actually,
go ahead.
I want to bring in another Montreal area, I almost said riding, another Montreal area city that we've got some results coming in. It took a while to get the results to start coming in from Hampstead. We do have some of our first results. Here again, very early, 1% of the polls being counted so far. But right now, it is Jack Eatery in first place right now with 42.2% over the incumbent Jeremy Levi, who has 39.1% of the vote right now. And the former mayor there, William Steinberg, is in third place right now with 18.7%. Once again, very early in the vote.
All right, let me interrupt you. We're going to go to La Tohu, and we're going to hear from Mayor-elect Soraya Martinez-Ferrada.
Donne-moi ton micro. Oh non!
There we go, just arranging, making some technical adjustments on the stage.
C'est-tu mieux ça? C'est bon? OK.
Is that better? Is that
Parfait.
good? Okay.
Bon, voilà. Alors,
Perfect.
bonsoir Montréal.
Good evening, Montreal.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Ce soir,
Good evening,
c'est
everybody.
vous qui avez gagné.
This evening,
Ce soir,
you
Montréal
have
a
won.
choisi
This
le
evening,
courage et
Montreal
l'ambition.
has chosen courage and ambition.
Et c'est vraiment avec une immense fierté.
This is truly with a great pride,
Et d'émotion
with great
que je
humility
reçois le
and
mandat que
emotion,
vous m'avez confié aujourd'hui,
that I
celui
accept
d'être votre
the mandate
nouvelle
you have
mairesse
bestowed
de
on me,
Montréal.
that to be the new mayor of Montreal.
Vous avez choisi, nous avons
You have
choisi
chosen,
de faire une
we have chosen to run a
respectueuse
positive
et
campaign,
tournée vers
respectful,
l'avenir. Vous
and
avez
looking to the
choisi
future.
de
You
croire
have chosen
qu'ensemble, on peut faire
to
les choses
believe that
autrement.
together we can do different things differently.
Montréal a envoyé un
This
message
evening,
clair,
Montreal
il faut
has
du
sent a clear
changement.
message
Un changement
that we need
fondé
change.
sur l'écoute,
Change
fondé sur
founded
l'action
on listening,
et fondé
founded
sur
on
un vivre
action,
ensemble et l'unité.
and founded
Pendant
on
des mois,
living together
je vous
and
ai
in unity.
rencontrés
For
partout
months,
dans la ville,
I've been meeting
dans vos
you
quartiers,
all
vos
over the
parcs,
city, in
au
your
bord de vos
neighborhoods, your
portes,
parks,
et partout,
next to
vous
your
m'avez dit la même
doors,
chose.
and everywhere. You've told me the
On
same
ne se
thing.
sent plus écouté.
We
On veut
don't
être
feel listened to.
entendu.
We
Eh
want to
bien,
be
ce
heard.
soir, je vous dis,
And
je
so
vous
tonight, I tell
ai
you,
entendu.
I have heard you.
Nous vous avons entendu
We,
sur Camille
we have
Wood,
heard you
sur l'itinérance,
on Camillien Wood,
sur le logement,
on
sur la
homelessness,
propreté, sur
on
la
housing,
mobilité, sur
on
la
cleanliness, on
sécurité.
mobility,
Nous
on
irons de
security.
l'avant avec de l'écoute,
We are going to go
avec
ahead
respect et avec
listening and with
ambition.
respect and with
Je vous le
ambition.
promets, nous serons une
I
administration
promise you, we are going to be an administration that
qui
listens to
écoute
understand,
pour agir
who
et
listens
qui
to
écoute
act,
pour bâtir
and who
Montréal avec
listens
vous.
to build Montreal with
Nous
you.
sommes ici ce soir parce
We
que
are
des
here
milliers
tonight
de Montréalais et de
because
Montréalaises
thousands
ont
of
cru à
Montrealers
une meilleure ville, une
believed
ville
in a better
réellement
city,
pour tous.
a city that
Et
is
cet
really
élan
for
de
everyone.
changement qui s'est levé
And this
dans
movement
plusieurs
for
quartiers de
change,
la
this
ville,
wind of
d'est
change
en
that has
ouest,
blown
de
up
nord
around
au
the
sud,
city, from
on
east
le
to
voit
west,
et on
from
le
north
sent
to
aujourd'hui.
south, we see it, we
A
feel
few
it today.
words for my English community. We are here tonight because thousands of Montrealers believe in a better city, a city that truly belongs to everyone. And this momentum for change arose in every neighborhood of the city from east to west, north to south. Partout, vous avez dit, on veut avancer ensemble.
Everywhere, you told
On
us
veut
we
une
want
ville
to
où
move
sortir les
ahead
poubelles,
together, forward
se
together.
loger,
We want a
se
city where
déplacer,
taking up the
de prendre
trash,
soin de son
living,
monde,
moving around,
ce n'est
taking
pas une
care of our
question
loved
de gauche
ones
ou de
is
droite.
not a question of left
C'est
or
une
right.
question d'équité.
It is
C'est
a
une
question
question de
of
dignité.
equity.
C'est une
It's a
question
question
de
of
respect
dignity. It's a question
et de
of
vivre
respect.
ensemble,
And to live together,
où chaque citoyen
where
mérite
each
d'avoir
citizen
la même
deserves
qualité de service,
to have the same quality of
quel que
service,
soit son quartier.
no matter what neighborhood they
Je veux
live.
dire un mot à ceux et celles qui n'ont pas
I
voté pour
want
moi.
to share a word
vous ai
with those who
entendu
did not vote
aussi.
for me. I have
Je
heard
serai
you as
votre
well.
mairesse à vous
I will
aussi.
be your mayor
Parce
as
que
well.
Montréal appartient
Because
à
Montreal
tout le monde.
belongs
À
to
ceux
everyone.
qui se lèvent tôt pour faire rouler la ville,
To those who
à
get
ceux
up
qui
early in the
rêvent
morning
d'y
to get the
bâtir
city
leur
moving, to
famille
those who
et un
believe, to
avenir,
dream of building their
à ceux
family
qui
and their
doutent,
future,
qui hésitent,
to those
qui
who
pensent à quitter
wonder, who
Montréal.
hesitate,
Moi, ce que
who
je
are
vous
thinking of
dis,
leaving Montreal.
ne
What I
partez
tell
pas,
you,
restez là,
don't leave.
parce qu'on
Stay
va travailler
there.
ensemble très
Because
fort
we are
pour
going to
que
work
tout le monde
together
soit
very hard
et soit reconnu
so that
dans cette ville.
everyone feels at home in this town, in this city.
Bon. Laissez-moi arranger ça parce que...
Let me fix my microphone.
Ah, tu m'amènes un autre micro.
Oh, brand new
Ça va
mic
être
coming to the
encore mieux.
stage.
Ah, bon, voilà. Ah, attends, tu veux partir avec ça? Parle-moi de ça, moi, là. On arrange tout, nous autres, ici. Bon.
We are here
OK,
to
vous voulez que
fix.
j'arrange mes cheveux? Bon. Bon, voilà.
And now
C'est
you
bien?
want me to fix my hair.
Ah,
Okay.
Merci. Merci.
That better? Okay. Thank you.
Et si on veut que tout le monde se sente écouté, que
And
tout le monde participe,
if we want everyone to feel heard, we want everyone to participate in this great city, we have to leave partisanship aside. And from now, we're going to work together without any barriers, political barriers, because this evening, there's no more them or us, there is just Montreal. There's just one team, and that is Montreal. I would like to share a word with Luc, to Gilbert, to Craig. Thank you for contributing to this campaign, because each of you love this city in your own way. And in a democracy, that passion is what makes Montreal a united city. So I want to extend my hand to you, because we have a lot of work ahead of us, and we need to work together to manage the great challenges we have to overcome. I would like to share a word with Valérie. Valérie, I want to thank you for your dedication. I want to thank you because you are the one who broke that major glass ceiling for this city, for we women. Thank you, Valérie, for breaking through that glass ceiling. Today, Montrealers chose to break another glass ceiling. For the first time in its history, Montreal has elected someone who is from a cultural community, a diversity, to manage to lead the biggest city in Quebec. And this elected person, a woman again, thank you, Montreal. This elected person of a diverse background leading the biggest francophone city in North America. This is a powerful message. Because in a city where every child, no matter their language, no matter their history, and they can say, here, I'm home. I am an immigrant. I am a child of Bill 101. I'm a child of Montreal, a daughter of Montreal, and I'm here at home. And that is the message of a city that knows the richness of its diversity, that believes in the strength of the work, the merit, what getting together can build. This shows the societal project that Montreal, that leads to its attractiveness. And we are proud, I'm so proud of all of you for breaking this glass ceiling this evening. To my team, I'm so lucky to have had you around me. You are an extraordinary team, each candidate, each volunteer, each resident citizen. You never gave up. You walked down every street, you knocked on every door. You are in the heart of this victory. I thank you for believing in us.
Every candidate, every volunteer, every citizen, you never gave up. You believed in this project. You believed in this party. I want to thank you. Et bien sûr, parce que vous l'avez rencontré,
and of course, because you've already met them here tonight, I would never have been able to carry out this campaign without my family, my mother, who could probably have gotten in my place if she worked on this campaign, so thank you, Mom.
On va gouverner cette ville avec ouverture,
you know,
avec écoute,
we are going to govern the city with openness, with an open ear, with all the boroughs, no matter what party is elected in each borough, because each mayor, each borough mayor will have their place at the decision table. Because Montreal is, there's no tower. This is a collection of living neighborhoods, communities, people who love their neighborhoods. We're going to have a lot of work to rebuild Montrealers' trust, to rebuild the ties between us. In a context where living together can be difficult, we have to work together. We have to also build bridges with the metropolitan community of Greater Montreal, with Quebec City, with Ottawa. And we are going to do it together, because the future of Montreal is full of opportunity. It really does make me think of my grandfather René. My grandfather, who's no longer with us, he passed away in exile, and he often told me, look over the horizon, beyond the horizon. Tonight, Montreal, look beyond the horizon to a more just city, a more inclusive city, a more ambitious city. And tonight, I am so proud to be a Montrealer. I'm so proud of this city. And I cannot wait for this future that we are going to build together. And honestly, do we ever love Montreal? And Montreal, I love you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
That is Mayor-elect Soraya Martinez-Frada giving her victory speech at La Torue. And again, thank you, Sean Lyons, for that translation. And you heard she talked about thanking her mother, first of all. She thanked her team.
And saying her mom, if she decided to run the campaign, could have won this campaign. So
you know, it's funny that I was reading, I don't remember which newspaper it was, but they followed Soraya Martinez-Frada a day on the campaign trail, and her mother was with her, and her mother was making sure she ate on the campaign trail. So you're never too old for mom to make sure you have eaten. Right. So there's that. But anyway, all that to say, she's thanked her family, she thanked the supporters, she thanked her team as well. And this is a team that she's that is going to be that has enough seats, the way it looks right now, at least to form a majority on city council. And of course, it's a tall order. But what she said is they wanted to do this. They want to get rid of partisanship. They want to work together. This is, we all love Montreal. This is everyone's victory. We gotta work together and fix some of the issues and regain some trust as well.
And a little bit like we heard from Bruno Marchand earlier, it was a call to unity and a call to a positive vision for the future as well, saying that the other parties, it was a hard-fought campaign, but calling everyone to work together for the future of Montreal, borough by borough, to sort of tear down some of the divisions that have pushed the party. Now we'll see what happens in practice, of course. There are a lot of very big and sensitive issues on the table that people are not necessarily going to agree with. But there is, I think it's easy to say, there is a mandate here.
Yes.
For the for Ensemble Montréal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and interesting also thanking Valérie Plante.
Yeah,
thanking her for breaking the glass ceiling.
That's right.
And also saying she was a child of Bill 101, kind of presenting her candidacy and her ascension to the mayor's office as being a very Montreal and a very Quebec story. Yeah. So interesting, like you mentioned, she will have the majority on council. Right now, we're seeing 36 out of 65 for Équipe Soraya Ensemble Montréal, Projet Montréal at 23, so still a pretty solid contingent.
And that's
there.
A flip, actually, in the sense that it was Projet Montréal in the last council that had 35, 36 seats. It was Ensemble Montréal that had the 23 seats on council, so they're sort of like switching places.
Yeah, and that flip really happening in Hansik-Cartierville, Côte-des-Neiges, NDG, Mercier-Chalet, Maisonneuve, and Rivière-des-Prairies, Pointe-aux-Trembles. Those are the boroughs. Again, we don't know. These are not final results.
Right, but this is what it's looking like.
It's what it's looking like, and it's looking like that was where the gains were made. Sometimes all the way down the line. Sometimes, Ensemble or Projet managed to hang in there for one or two, but those were the big ones. And then a lot of the ones that, Projet Montréal maintained their downtown sort of plateau, Rosemont,
Sud-Ouest. They're doing well there too.
Verdun, they're leading.
L'Île Bizarre, Saint-Geneviève. Interesting story there. There's a flip.
It's only
there.
One, but it's
a flip. And the two people who left Ensemble Montréal to join Projet Montréal, they're actually leading right now tonight, and the other councillors.
They like to do things differently.
Are going to be L'Île Bizarre Saint-Geneviève is an interesting borough in the sense that they're not married to a specific party. Mm-hmm. If I go back to 2013, it was a mix of everybody. It was I think there was some Ensemble, there was some Denis Coderre, and there was some Projet, and there was some a little bit of everybody. That's right. And in 2017, there was all Projet. 2021, it was all Ensemble, and now 2025. Looks like it's going to be a bit of both. So before we go, Simon, because we are wrapping up here, I want to take one last look at Saint-Jacques in the Ville-Marie borough, because, of course, Soraya Martinez-Ferrada is the mayor-elect, and if was that Claude Pinard was going to be her number 2, but that has been a tight race. Where do things stand right now?
21 votes separate them, and Robert Baudry is currently leading, the incumbent Projet Montréal executive committee member there, so in charge of, among other things, homelessness. So 1965, that's the vote total that he has so far in Claude Pinard, with a 1944. So that one we may not know for a little while.
Okay, well, we'll be watching that. Final thoughts, Allison?
I'm going to be watching for Marie-Claude Bibeau, who another one. She's the second female mayor of Sherbrooke, Evelyn Baudin just before her being the first. So I do think that's interesting. And one thing I didn't mention is that her husband, Bernard Sévigny, her life partner, was the mayor of Sherbrooke for 2 mandates. So she's been trying to kind of distance herself from that and his way of governance, saying that it is different. And I'll be interested to see if she's able to go and get all that money from the province and the federal government that she's been promising.
All right, Sean, quick results from
I'll
you.
just leave you with another look at Gatineau, because there's been a change in the lead there. The incumbent has now taken the lead. Maude Marquis-Bissonnette is now ahead 50% to 47.3%, with about 80% of the polls counted in Gatineau yet.
We never got to Saint-Honoré de Témiscouata.
We did not.
I did look, and I haven't been able to find any results for that.
I mean, it'll be a Richard debate, that's for sure.
No matter who voted for, you win.
I like him. It's going to be Richard Dubé for sure. You know what? We are wrapping up tonight, and of course, we're going to some of the results that are still pending. We'll be following those throughout the night, and of course, we will have more tomorrow morning. It's been great. Sean Lyons, Allison Brunette, Simon Akineshi, good to work with you as usual. Thank you for doing this with me tonight. I want to say thank you to Sarah Kay Dallaire in Lévis, Franca Mignaca in Quebec City. I want to say thank you to Kubino Duro at Ensemble Montréal headquarters and at Projet Montréal headquarters, Sharon Yoon-Reynolds, Chloe Rinaldi in Hudson as well. I think I got everybody, right? Thank you, Justine McIntyre, of course. Thank you. Justine McIntyre will be back tomorrow. So raise your hand right now if you will be back tomorrow in the morning.
Yeah.
Morning, 11:30.
I can't stay away.
I mean morning-ish. I'll be on the air in the afternoon.
5:30.
We'll be with you in
Poor Sean.
The Seans will be back tomorrow morning. That's right. That is about it for us tonight. Thank you all for watching, and a big thank you to our reporters and our team behind the scenes, and to everyone around the table with me tonight. For more results and analysis, you can check out our website, cbc.ca/Montreal. And tomorrow morning, we'll be bringing you reaction to the results on Daybreak and on Quebec AM. Good night.